Ooh, Rabashanda Rabakanda. What's going on, everybody? Happy Sunday. You are now tuned into Planetary HQ, the planetary headquarters for all of your celestial information. You know me, D-Bake the Wise, Deadrick Baker, joined by my cosmic brother, Tay Chilla, Tay Killer. Ba, 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 ba. We are reading the Alien Bible today, the Urantia Book, what I considered the highest, most detailed classification of extraterrestrial races known to mankind. Extremely precise, high detail, all the non-human intelligence you can think of, it breaks it down, and we're going to read it today. I'm excited to read this for you guys because I've read it 100 times, but I feel like there's a lot of insight that a lot of people can learn from this. Like, everybody really wants to know about the UAPs, the UFOs, the nuts and the bolts. Are they here? What kind of ships are they in? We're kind of focused on the xenoanthropological aspect of it. What do these ETs believe in themselves? What are they studying? What is their philosophy? What is their science? How do they view the cosmos? And we've come to the conclusion that the Urantia Book is a true ET contact, and there's so much information in it. It's like the biggest secret ever told, the biggest secret that no one knows about. It's gnarly. We talk about it all the time on the channel. I'm surprised we haven't read this chapter because it just gives a fucking full rundown on who these people are. I mean, I guess instead of trying to preface it all, we should just jump into it. But I know you got some thoughts for the people before we go in.
Yeah, obviously, the alien Bible, stirs up a little train of thoughts, running in the head. But it is like an interesting phrase, and actually, I think for any religionist, this is a topic that um, you'll all be interested in. It's not meant to be like a competitive edge, against the Bible per se. The Bible itself talks about non-human beings. It talks about, we know the angelic beings, which we don't know much about. There's a whole mystery. We just know they bring some messages to people in the Bible, these characters. That's a whole topic in and of itself. Even the concept of the Nephilim in the Old Testament says that there was a race of giants that could be a hybrid race that suggests there was actually a physical presence involving, maybe angelic DNA. People have a lot of questions about these topics. And the Bible itself, is written, by humans who were there during some of these times. These stories got passed on, but they may not have understood exactly everything that was happening and why it was happening. But the events that they witnessed were very alien. That is no doubt a fact. And yeah, the Urantia book kind of continues in the tradition of revealing the mysteries. Some of them are old mysteries, some of them are new mysteries. And one of the mysteries it reveals is what exactly is the structure of the other intelligent civilizations in the world. Does it go just beyond the angelic, elder races, the Elohim, the light beings, the divine council? Are there actual other mortal species like humans or, mantids, bat people? Do they exist? What exactly is the evolutionary spectrum of life? Do these other planets look like humanoids? There's a lot of questions that come up. And, like I said, the Bible is the story of, Earth people looking up towards religion and trying to find answers to their purpose. And your Urantia book gives a perspective from the cosmos coming down to you, telling you some perspectives about cosmic philosophy and your purpose and religious and philosophical concepts of God throughout all the cosmos. So that's what we're going to get into today. The Alien Bible, aka the Urantia book. I'm excited. Let's do this.
Yes, sir. Dive into it. And it's kind of funny. I was just thinking about it right now. Like the alien Bible, it can be taken like one way, like, or two different ways. Like, from our point of view, the human point of view, like the highest detailed classification of ET races known to man, or you can take it like it's actually their Bible. This is the Bible of the aliens. This is what they believe in too. So just another hot take at it. But yeah, let's start reading. So this is from paper 49. It's called The Inhabited Worlds. Go check it out. The link will probably be in the description. If it ain't, it'll be there in a second. So let's dive into it. So suspend your disbelief. We're painting a mental picture. Let's fucking get Da Vinci with it, okay? All mortal inhabited worlds are evolutionary in origin and nature. These spheres are the spawning ground, the evolutionary cradle of the mortal races of time and space. Each unit of the ascendant life is a veritable training school for the next stage of existence just ahead, and this is true of every stage of man's progressive paradise ascent. Just as true of the initial mortal experience on an evolutionary planet as of the final universe headquarters school of the Melchizedeks, a school which is not attended by ascending mortals until just before their translation to the regime of the superuniverse and the attainment of the first stage spirit existence. So already right there, it's a mouthful. So it's pretty much just saying, yeah, every planet, not every single planet, but there's a lot of planets out there that have already been seeded, and your planet is like a classroom and it's preparing you for the next classroom. And this is true of all stages of universe progress. They even name drop the Melchizedeks, the final universe headquarters school of the Melchizedeks. Melchizedek was a famous figure from our Bible. He taught Abraham everything he knows about it. We go over that a lot in our videos, so go check them out. But it's foreshadowing, it's giving you a little taste on this cosmic hierarchy that we ascend through. And there's different spheres that act as different classrooms or universities. And be excited because you will go to Melchizedek University before you leave the universe. So something to look forward to. All inhabited worlds are basically grouped for celestial administration into the local systems. And each of these local systems is limited to about 1,000 evolutionary worlds. This limitation is by the decree of the Ancient of Days, and it pertains to actual evolutionary planets whereon mortals of survival status are living. Neither worlds finally settled in life, nor planets in the pre-human stage of life development are reckoned in this group. Satania itself is an unfinished system containing only 619 inhabited worlds. So Satania is the name of our local system. We don't really know exactly if Satan was named after Satania or if Satania was named after Satan because he was dispatched here. We don't know exactly, but for anybody seeing that word and starting to recluse, your butthole puckers up. Shout out to Arcturus Raw, because we were talking to him about this at Contact in the Desert. He's like, we need to change the name for Satania. I don't know how it works, but just so that you guys, when you guys hear Satania, what are we in the kingdom of Satan? No, don't relax. It's just the name of a sector. And sometimes they name sectors after the angel who was in charge. And at one point, Satan was a good angel. So
Yeah, and let me drop a
I'm
note
not
in there
over
as
here
well,
preaching Satanism.
because it's interesting to think about this. Deadrick posed the question. Was the system named after Satan, or was Satan named after the system? So the way I see it, the way I kind of look at this is that, the term Satan or Satan is, an English translation of the Hebrew term that means something close to the adversary or the challenger in a courtroom case. It's not necessarily it's not a good or bad title. Like I said, in the court case, the challenger, the defendant, there's the different sides in a case. And so, that's what that word kind of means at a base level. And so for the Urantia book to call our system Satania is two kind of meanings here. One, it does talk about who exactly was the angel that we know that we call Satan. There was an individual personality. And it uses the name, Satan, but that's our Hebrew to English term name. And they're using that term because the role that Satan, the angel, who I'm sure has, their own name on a cosmic level. But to us as humans, we see him as this character that is the challenger. He who challenged God on how to rule his section of the universe, which was this system. So this system was given to this angel, but now this angel has become the challenger to the rest of the universe government, to how they're supposed to lead the system. So that means then for the Urantia book personalities who are not in rebellion, they're part of the cosmic government. When they call our sector Satania, what I get out of that is that we are the system of worlds that has challenged the universe and sort of rebelled. And so we are still sort of that rebellion system, and that's still an ongoing court case. However, yeah, I think, as this process goes on, we will get, a new name, and there's even some extra Urantia Book sources that say that new name has already been assigned. So little, what do they call that? A I don't know, catnip for you?
Easter egg? I don't know.
Easter egg, yeah.
A little teaser. There you go. Some insight. So if anybody is recluse at the sound Satania, oh my God, Planetary HQ is Satanists. Got to unsubscribe. Hit that unsubscribe button. Hit that down vote. No, it just he explained it well right there. So don't freak out when you hear it. Satania itself is an unfinished system containing only 619 inhabited worlds. Such planets are numbered serially in accordance with their registration as inhabited worlds, as worlds inhabited by will creatures. Thus was Urantia given the number 606 of Satania, meaning the 606th world in this local system on which the long evolutionary life process culminated in the appearance of human beings. There are 36 uninhabited planets nearing the life endowment stage, and several are now being made ready for the life carriers. There are nearly 200 spheres which are evolving so as to be ready for life implantation within the next few million years. See, I remember when I first read that paragraph, my hair is standing up on my arm right now. I was like, whoa, the amount of insight it's giving you on how organized the cosmos is. When people stare into the universe, you might believe in aliens, but people can't fathom how precise and bureaucratic the cosmos really is. This book gives you an insight. You're like, oh, it's not just a wild west up there of aliens doing whatever the fuck they want. It's highly organized. And then it even says there's 619 inhabited planets in our sector. So that's 618 other planets with other people on them near us. That's kind of crazy. And we're planet 606 out of 619. So it's like they're serialized and everything. And then there's 36 that are being prepared for the life carriers. And for the people, life carriers, that's like the concept of panspermia. When that first cell hitches a ride on a comet, and like a lot of people think that's the first cell that started evolution on Earth came from a comet or a meteor. And when it impacted Earth, that single cell, came onto the planet and started evolving, and that's how we came. Now, Watson and Crick, the people who discovered human DNA, were proponents of panspermia, and they have a paper written about it. You can go look it up. I'll put the link in the description for the end or in the chat. They actually went a step further and said it's not panspermia, it's directed panspermia. They believe that there were celestial beings who directed the comet to impact our planet. And these were the guys who studied and figured out the double helix. You have to listen to these guys. They're smarter than all of us. Watson and Crick discovered the double helix in the DNA strand, and they said it's so complex, there is no way it evolved on Earth. The amount of time that Earth has been around is too short for our DNA to have evolved on Earth because of how complex it is. There wasn't enough situations and scenarios in the evolutionary timeline of Earth to create this DNA strain. Therefore, the DNA strain must be extraterrestrial. It must have been evolved elsewhere in the cosmos. And they came to the conclusion, directed panspermia, that higher celestial beings sent our life plasma to our planet to kickstart evolution. And these are the guys who discovered DNA. It's not just D-Bake and Planetary HQ over here talking out of their ass, dude. This is for real. So we should focus on it. Now, taking all that information and integrating it with what we're reading here, damn, 36 planets are about to be ready for life implantation. So, this book was written in 1933. So possibly 2 or 3 of these planets could have gotten implanted by then. So there's fucking, single cell amoebas floating in some ocean somewhere, waiting for that billion-year evolutionary process. Then we'll get some human cousins in a little bit. It's pretty sick. Pretty cool. Not all planets are suited to harbor mortal life. Small ones having a high rate of axial revolution are wholly unsuited for life habitats. In several of the physical systems of Satania, the planets revolving around the central sun are too large for habitation, their great mass occasioning oppressive gravity. Many of these enormous spheres have satellites, sometimes a half dozen or more, And these moons are often in size very near that of Urantia, so that they are almost ideal for habitation. That's pretty gnarly. So a lot of life can live on moons. They don't need to necessarily live on the planets themselves. The oldest inhabited world of Satania, world number 1, is Anova, one of 44 satellites revolving around an enormous dark planet, but exposed to the differential light of 3 neighboring suns. Anova is in an advanced stage of progressive civilization. So that's OG world number 1. Shit, I can't even fathom how long it's been around for. Can you imagine like a trillion-year-old civilization that's just constantly progressing? If you were transported to that planet, you'd think it's heaven when it's really just another material planet that's super fucking advanced. This paragraph actually is a serious cross-correlatory point with the Keys of Enoch. The Keys of Enoch has entire chapters talking about classifying planets based off how much light they are exposed to. And it says that our planet is considered the lowest, most dense type of planet because we're chained. He says, he uses the word chain, JJ Hertag. Shout out to JJ and Desiree. They're going to be on the podcast soon, baby. But he says that our sun is in a red-orange state. And there's different classifications of sun based off color. White, blue to red-orange. He says red-orange is the most dense light. And remember, matter and atoms are just gravitationally trapped light. The reason you see physical matter is because our sun is giving off a certain frequency vibration. So all the atoms are locked into that density. The Keys of Enoch says once you go up to star systems that are around like white blue stars, that light is a higher vibration. It more lines up with the source and it's less dense. Maybe that reality is like what we consider our dream state. That's their regular reality. And then it goes on to say you can also classify planets based off how many stars they are around. So he says Urantia, Earth, our planet, is the lowest because it's chained to a red-orange star. And then it says the higher advanced planets in the cosmos are usually around triple stars, trinary star systems, or binary star systems such as Sirius A and B. Bring us back to the Dogon tribe talking about the celestial beings that came from the Sirius A, B binary star system. That planet is exposed to the differential light of 2 stars. This is saying the oldest planet is actually exposed to 3 different starlights. Our evolutionary pattern, look at plants. They reach up towards the sun. We only have 1 star programming mechanism. Imagine if we had 3 suns hitting differential light on that single life plasm as it evolves through time and space. The humanoid that gets generated from that evolutionary process is going to be very different because throughout those billions of years of evolution, they're getting bombarded by the differential light of 3 different stars. So you could see how that would impact the evolutionary process. Just something I want the viewers to think about and hold in their mind because it's very important. So that's how you can classify different stellar races by how many stars they have in their solar system.
Do you know what this dark planet is? I just looked it up, and it's just saying a dark planet is a planet that reflects very little light, making it hard to detect. Have you heard of that before?
I don't know. This is written like the early 1900s, so their cosmology was a little bit different. Some people say that they could be referring to a black hole because I don't know what our understanding of black holes were at that time in the early 1900s, you know? But you're right. I don't know.
Okay.
Do not know. But yeah, you want to pick up the next section?
Yeah, for sure. Now, yeah, I guess, okay, here's the 1900s. I'll read this. In the 1900s, dark planet referred to hypothetical unseen planets inferred from gravitational effects. Okay.
Oh, okay.
During the 19th and early 20th century, astronomers often used the term dark planet to describe hypothetical planet that could not be seen directly, but was thought to exist because of its gravitational influence on other objects. This was before the discovery of exoplanets and before astronomers understood much about planetary atmospheres or light reflection. Okay, so, I guess imagining that we're looking at a planet, we see things revolving in a pattern where we're like, kind of seems like there's something at the center. Like it would make sense if there was an object there that these couple things are revolving around, but we can't quite see it. And I guess and then later on, maybe it seems like they start to understand that there's some planets that like don't reflect much light, which is why they're hard to see, I guess, through the telescopes.
Yeah, I think that would be it. Yeah. Like when you're looking through the telescopes, you can't see a body, but you see the gravitational
Yeah, you see things
influence of the
revolve.
planets
See
around
things
it.
around it. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to look for a quote. I can't find it now. I don't know if it's Salvington or Edentia or
Oh
Jerusalem,
yeah, see what?
but it talks about those planets not being around a sun system, that they're floating by themselves, remember? And they're lit on their own mechanism. They like fire photons into their ionosphere and it rains back down like
Oh,
a perfect
interesting.
daylight about 10 o'clock all day. And it says if you were to see this planet from the outside with your telescope, you wouldn't see light. But if
Oh,
you lived on the planet, it would be like a daylight. It's kind of weird. So
yeah.
somehow they have the ability to have like
Are those
habitable planets
considered
floating through space without.
Like, are those
Those are
architectural
architectural
spheres?
worlds.
Okay,
Those are
yeah.
architectural worlds. Yeah.
So
They're
yeah,
not inhabited or evolutionary worlds,
yeah.
but
For the
I don't
people
know.
out there, we're
Maybe
talking
they're,
about worlds that are specifically created, not like evolved out of the
yeah.
normal planetary space matter and gases. They're sort of like created and designed worlds from the ground up, and they host
Hmm.
basically different celestial beings that use these spheres for their own purposes. And this is part of also the scheme of where we go in the afterlife. We don't exit time and space completely. We're sort of in an in-between zone where we're less affected by normal material gravity, but we're slowly gaining into a more spirit status, until eventually we can sort of exit the traditional time space gravity. And there's a whole thing. There's this whole, they call it the universe career. Check out our other episodes. I don't know if we have a dedicated episode on it yet, but we definitely will.
That's crazy. Yeah, okay, I found the quote a little bit. It's like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, or right, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe, whatever. Hitchhiker's Guide. They at the end they find that the planetary builder race, the race who runs the cosmos, and he goes into a factory and they're actually building planets. If you remember at the
Yeah,
very
yeah,
end,
yeah.
and I'm like, oh shit, it's like the architectural spheres. Um, this is from what is this fucking paper 15? The architectural spheres. While each superuniverse government presides near the center of the evolutionary universes of its space segment, it occupies a world made to order and is peopled by accredited personalities. These headquarter worlds are architectural spheres, space bodies specifically constructed for their special purpose. While sharing the light of nearby suns, these spheres are independently lighted and heated. Each has a sun which gives forth light without heat. Like the satellites of paradise. Can you imagine that light without heat? That's crazy. The Keys of Enoch talks about that as well. The light, when we find suns that don't give off heat, we have to recognize that these are the high points for the higher evolution, like gateway headquarters points. So different thresholds. But yeah, I just wanted to read that real quick. And then it says that the architectural worlds are so constructed that the living power centers can act as selective switches. They pretty much can just light their own spheres from internally. And yeah, you're right. It's a little bit different than the evolutionary planets, but it's just kind of cool to think about, to postulate.
Yeah, and for Captain Kirk in the chat, there actually is a couple paragraphs which talk about Earth's moon, and that's from paper 57, The Origin of Urantia. So I can drop a link in the chat for you there on that paper, and you can just search for moon, and you'll find a bunch of origin story. But if you're wondering if it says the moon is hollow, I don't think it does. But what's more interesting is what the Urantia book doesn't say. So if you can read in between the
Yeah,
lines a little bit.
exactly. Yes, sir.
And that's what
All the
we're
Urantia
here
book readers are
for on
hating
this
right.
channel.
They're all ripping their hair out. No, don't tell them that. But yeah,
Sick. Should I continue
let's keep it
reading?
rolling.
Keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah.
The planetary life. The universes of time and space are gradual in development. The progression of life, terrestrial or celestial, is neither arbitrary nor magical. Cosmic evolution may not always be understandable, predictable, but it is strictly non-accidental. The biologic unit of material life is the protoplasmic cell, the communal association of chemical, electrical, and other basic energies. The chemical formulas differ in each system, and the technique of living cell reproduction is slightly different in each local universe, but the life carriers are always the living catalyzers who initiate the primordial reactions of material life. They are the instigators of the energy circuits of living matter. Directed evolution, baby.
That's dope, dude.
That's the mix in
Yes,
between
sir.
these two worlds, where materialism has been fighting the idea, but they've been evolving a good concept that it's not just like all magical. Like it just said that it's not, the universe is not, it's not magical. It's not just totally a bunch of beings doing whatever they want. There's an order, there's a structure, there's the way that life unfolds, but it's always directed, by intelligent beings. It's a managed system. It's just from our tiny perspective, only seeing this tiny small amount of the light spectrum, only hearing, 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz on the sound spectrum. It's just our senses that keep us from directly observing all these different beings. Most of the beings that manage the life creation, they're not just physical mortal beings like us on a planet from the animal species. That is its own class of beings that we are a part of. And then there's the higher celestial beings. And those are the beings that manage most of the life programs. However, I think a lot of civilizations participate in their own sciences and biological studies, potentially, taking species from many different planets and kind of cross-populating. So, we can play a role, but, we ain't the boss. So
I'm sure some physical ETs would like to be the boss.
The boss. AKA the Greys making hybrids on our planet.
The Greys. There we go.
Shout out to the Greys.
Anti-Greys. Alien Hate League, AHL. Shout out to Mysterious Universe.
All right. All the worlds of a local system disclose unmistakable physical kinship. Nevertheless, each planet has its own scale of life, no two worlds being exactly alike in plant and animal endowment. These planetary variations in the system life types results from the decisions of the life carriers. But these beings are neither capricious nor whimsical. The universes are conducted in accordance with law and order. The laws of Nebadon are the divine mandates of Salvington, and the evolutionary order of life in Satania is in consonance with the evolutionary pattern of Nebadon. Evolution is the rule of human development, but the process itself varies greatly on different worlds. Life is sometimes initiated in one center, sometimes in 3, as it was on Urantia. On the atmospheric worlds, it usually has a marine origin, but not always. Much depends on the physical status of a planet. The life carriers have great latitude in their function of life initiation. In the development of planetary life, the vegetable form always precedes the animal and is quite fully developed before the animal patterns differentiate. All animal types are developed from the basic patterns of the preceding vegetable kingdom of living things. They are not separately organized. The early stages of life evolution are not altogether in conformity with your present-day views. Mortal man is not an evolutionary accident. There is a precise system, a universal law which determines the unfolding of the planetary life on the spheres of space. Time and the production of large numbers of species are not the controlling influences. Mice reproduce much more rapidly than elephants, yet elephants evolve more rapidly than mice. The process of planetary evolution is orderly and controlled. The development of higher organisms from lower groupings of life is not accidental. Sometimes evolutionary progress is temporarily delayed by the destruction of certain favorable lines of life plasm carried in a selected species. It often requires ages upon ages to recoup the damage occasioned by the loss of a single superior strain of human heredity. These selected and superior strains of living protoplasm should be jealously and intelligently guarded when once they make their appearance. And on most of the inhabited worlds, these superior potentials of life are valued much more highly than on Urantia. Wow. The life plasm bank on Urantia might be our most valuable resource. And
yes, legitimately.
Yeah. These cosmic beings, one of the primary things they're working towards is building out the craziest, most interesting, highly developed DNA strains within the various species. And each planet, I guess, tends to have a sort of singular human race that eventually arises and is developed and kind of, lives above the animal kingdom. But there's still even multiple human races on our planet. We see the multiple races on other planets. It might even be more drastic, where the different races look like almost like really different, like even different stature, like highly different statures and heights. Who knows how the variation gets here, but yeah, it's interesting that they kind of look at it from this perspective, where they see like some interesting family line pop up, and then when it's lost, they're like, they could have enhanced the entire population, with that. It's like, I guess, these gems arise out of that evolutionary
Yeah.
process, that directed evolution, and it's sad to not see it go to good use. And yeah, it comes up in other places in this book, like the Adam and Eve story.
Yeah, I feel like this is tying together a lot of loose ends in the ufology sphere. And this is also touching upon another hot subject that just kind of came out on Area 52. If you haven't go checked out Chris Ramsey's YouTube channel, awesome YouTube channel. Shout out to Chris, that's my big bro right there. He just interviewed a guy named John Ramirez, 25-year CIA. Got to see a lot of documents go across his desk. And he claimed that there is a program that is a higher classification than the actual alien craft recovery program. And he says the CIA is directly tracking and monitoring humans with alien DNA. And he claims that to be the highest secret, even higher than the ships that the NHI are using, than the crash recovery programs. So we're saying that, well, this is kind of talking about that. We have other videos to talk about the Anunnaki that landed, and Adam and Eve who landed and mated with us. And that's part of the normal process. That's part of the process we're talking about right now, the evolutionary ascension process throughout the cosmos. So some of us do have alien DNA, and they're monitoring it. It's similar to what the angels are doing. They're looking down and they're monitoring it. When we read the Jesus papers, they talk about looking over a bunch of different families, and they were trying to figure out who had the best character traits, charisma, speaking ability, leadership capabilities. And they picked out a couple families, but they eventually picked Mary and Joseph because of their geographic location. They're really close to all like a high volume trade route. So he was exposed to a lot of cultures. And Mary was a descendant of very strong leadership, spiritual leadership, even beings that were associated with the celestial staff landing way beforehand. So the aliens are actively monitoring genetic lineages, waiting for a personality to appear from the substrate of that evolutionary process. And when they find that really strong, charismatic, I guess, leader who's going to change the face of planet Earth, they hone in, they get a magnifying glass and they start watching. So they've been doing this now and back in antiquity to pick who Jesus, Michael, to pick what family Michael is going to get incarnated into. They even did that when the Anunnaki landed. They wanted to land near families and pick assistants who showed that high genetic potential. And that's happening from an angelic point of view, and also our CIA is doing it. So they're conscious of it. I always say, like, if we know the Urantia Book, the CIA knows the Urantia Book better than us. So they're tracking this too. And what's a really weird thing is I wanted to talk about this. I heard back in the day that 23andMe was actually was created by a CIA front. It was like those NGOs. They set up those private corporations to make it look like it's not the CIA so they can do things. And now 23andMe is going under, and they're selling all their genetic data to a private party that they will not reveal to the public. And now you mix that with John Ramirez's fucking tracking people who have the most alien DNA, because I guess that's important for the government. You start to put two and two together. And then you start to realize that's how they got Osama bin Laden. You know, they couldn't find bin Laden in Pakistan. So what did the CIA do? They set up a fake blood Red Cross tent. And they said there was a fake disease going around this town where they thought bin Laden was. And they have to test every resident. So They went to where they thought Bin Laden was living, had one of the kids in his family go get a little cotton swab to test for a disease. They took the DNA back, set up this entire front just to get his DNA, got his DNA, confirmed it, and that's when they went in and killed him. The CIA does a lot of stuff. Like they set up a front shell corporation with Mossad with those cell phones 6 years ago. And then just last year, they blew them all up when all the terrorists had them in their pockets. So like the CIA goes to very deep lengths to set up these shell corporations in order to gather intel. Don't be naive. These guys are fucking the boogeyman, dude. The spooks. They call them spooks for a reason. So I'm tying all those concepts into the 23andMe. They're obviously, how do you track people with celestial DNA? You need to get all their DNA in a central database. And that's what 23andMe is doing. I'm pretty sure they're selling it back to the CIA, so they have all that genetic information. I'm not trying to be conspiratorial, but just want you guys to be aware that this is a real deal, that the angels are monitoring us and they want to see the best types come out. And this doesn't just happen on our planet. I feel like this also illuminates the whole starseed theory, the Nordic theory, the Pleiadians, Everybody says like there are cosmic cousins. They are older than us and we are actually an offshoot of them. That's why they look like us. The Urantia Book kind of confirms that. It says that, there's a kinship between all those serial numbers right there. And it says that later in this book, I think it says it, when they adapt or make advances to the genetics of a cell on a planet, they'll reiterate that in the next planet to make sure that planet also has those advanced progressive features. The example it gives us is that I guess on our planet, they made a type that can heal faster than any other type. I guess we heal extremely quick. And then it says that they use that iteration for the next implantation on the next planet. So there's a planet out there that probably looks like us and takes the same healing mechanisms that we use because they perfected it on our planet. So does that mean they might have, started our template in the Pleiades system or the Orion system billions of years ago, and they liked what happened and they used that template for Earth, and that's why we're kind of genetic cousins. So there's a lot of distortion in the Lyran wars and the Pleiadians and the Nordics, and I'm an Arcturus and I'm a starseed, because they have that concept of the ancient humanoid Nordics or the Pleiadians that spread their seed throughout the cosmos. I'm just trying to illuminate that concept via the Urantia Book. It is kind of true, but we're not over here fucking a bunch of hot blondes and UFOs and shit. That's where it gets kind of gnarly.
And another thing to add in here is that I do think, as disclosure comes out more and more, eventually, hypothesis, let's say the government reveals that we've been working with humans who are from the Pleiades system, and they show us some pictures and it's like, yo, is that Valiant Thor? He looks just like us. Why is that? That's going to trip people out. In fact, I think on the surface level, people are going to be like, it can't be true. They're obviously pretending and they just have humans in costumes. And now they're trying to convince us that they're aliens. Like, they don't look any different. But eventually, if they give enough data, if they
fuck with us,
they give us the DNA template and they're like, no, like this is legit their DNA. Scientists can go look at it. Like they gave this to us to, they allowed us to show how we know they're definitely not the normal human strain. People are going to trip out. It's interesting. What's religion going to do? God made us brothers and sisters on other planets that look just like us. I don't know. There's so many different concepts, and this book explains it the best. It literally told us there's a kinship. Yeah. The life carriers are the celestial beings who carry and work out these life plasm DNA programs on many planets, and they iterate. They're iterating. They're working at a large scale, just like we do on planet Earth. And, if you're, I'm not like a scientist per se. I'm not like read up on all the latest DNA science, but I know that that's like one of the hottest edges of biologic sciences is DNA sequencing, CRISPR, using like robots that can build on the molecular level to take the base material of DNA and totally like with the computer simulate and resequence and then actually build it in a machine. And then you actually got the DNA and start working with it. Like, how crazy is that? Like, we are doing the same thing the Celestials are doing. As above, so below.
Yes, so below. Amen. Baphomet symbol. Oh my God.
Uh-oh.
He's part of the Illuminati.
Satania.
Oh shit. There we go. Fucking A. Lucifer. Oh, no. Whoops. Who said Lucifer? No, okay. Planetary physical types. There is a standard and basic pattern of vegetable and animal life in each system, but the life carriers are oftentimes confronted with the necessity of modifying these basic patterns to conform to the varying physical conditions which confront them on numerous worlds of space. They foster a generalized system type of mortal creature, but there are 7 distinct physical types as well as thousands upon thousands of minor variants of these 7 outstanding differentiations. So 1, the atmospheric types, 2, elemental types, 3, gravity types, 4, temperature types, 5, electric types, 6, energizing types, and 7, unnamed types. The Satania system contains all of these types and numerous intermediate groups, although some are very sparingly represented. So when I first read this, I thought they were classifying like there's 7 different types of aliens, but then I realized after a couple times reading it, these are 7 different lenses to look at all aliens through. So you can classify all the aliens through what kind of atmosphere they have, and that would break them into different categories. Same group of aliens. Now let's not look through the atmospheric lens. Let's look through the lens of elemental types. Then you can reclassify those same groups of beings through the different elements of their planets. So this paper isn't saying that there's only atmospheric types. There's only elemental types. These are all lenses to look at the same group of aliens through all of them. So for the viewers out there. Number 1, the atmospheric types. The physical differences of the worlds of mortal habitation are chiefly determined by the nature of the atmosphere. Other influences which contribute to the planetary differentiation of life are relatively minor. The present atmospheric status of Urantia is almost ideal for the support of the breathing type of man. But the human type can be so modified that it can live on both superatmospheric and subatmospheric planets. Such modifications also extend to the animal life, which differs greatly on the various inhabited spheres. There is a very great modification of animal orders on both the sub and superatmospheric worlds. Of the atmospheric types in Satania, about 2.5% are sub-breathers, about 5% super breathers, and over 91% are mid-breathers, altogether accounting for 98.5% of Satania worlds. Beings such as the Urantia races are classified as mid-breathers. You represent the average or typical breathing order of mortal existence. If intelligent creatures should exist on a planet with an atmosphere similar to that of your neighbor Venus, why do they drop Venus? That's weird. If intelligent
Shout out
creatures
to
are on
Ra,
Venus,
the law of one.
that's kind of trippy. Yeah, shout out. There it is. Law of one confirmed. And they mentioned the Urantia book too. That's kind of funny.
That's funny.
So
They both did a little
if
shout
creatures
out.
should exist, yeah, right, exactly. So we've got to acknowledge
If
each other. Come on,
hypothetically there was a race on Venus, would not
on
neither
Venus,
confirm nor divide, they would be super breathers.
exactly. Yeah. They be in the super breathing group,
And
while
Mars,
those
which
inhabiting a
Law of
planet
One
on the
talks about
atmosphere
life
as
on
thin as your
Mars.
outer neighbor Mars would be denominated sub-breathers. See, that's fucking weird. Uh, what does the Urantia book not say exactly?
Yeah.
If mortals should inhabit a planet devoid of air, like your moon, they would belong to a separate order of non-breathers. This type represents a radical or extreme adjustment to planetary environment and is separately considered. Non-breathers account for the remaining 1.5% of Satania worlds. So that's trippy. When I first read that, I was like, what the fuck? Non-breathers? I immediately thought of the Greys, but I don't know if the Greys would all be considered non-breathers. And let's be real, there's probably different types of Greys, so you can't just classify them all into one. But yeah, non-breathers, super breathers. Fucking trippy, man. So it's looking at all of the different celestial beings, all the NHI through the lens of what type of atmosphere they breathe. Trippy. You want to pick up the next section? Just
Did
go
you
back and forth
finish?
for the types.
Are we on our new section already?
No, I mean just for the
Okay.
fucking, we'll bounce back and forth.
Sure. Yeah, elemental types.
Yeah.
The elemental types. These differentiations have to do with the relation of mortals to water, air, and land, and there are 4 distinct species of intelligent life as they are related to these habitats. The Urantia races are of the land order. Oh snap. Fish people? Is that what's coming up?
Yes, sir.
It is quite impossible for you to envisage the environment which prevails during the early ages of some worlds. These unusual conditions make it necessary for the evolving animal life to remain in its marine nursery habitat for longer periods than on those planets which very early provide a hospitable land and atmosphere environment. Conversely, on some worlds of the super breathers, when the planet is not too large, it is sometimes expedient to provide for a mortal type which can readily negotiate atmospheric passage. These air navigators sometimes intervene between the water and land groups, and they always live in a measure upon the ground, eventually evolving into land dwellers. But on some worlds, for ages, they continue to fly even after they have become land-type beings. Okay. Bird person, Rick and Morty. These air navigators, they continue to fly even after they become land-type beings. Okay. It is both amazing and amusing to observe the early civilization of a primitive race of human beings taking shape, in one case, in the air and treetops, and in another, midst the shallow waters of sheltered tropic basins, as well as on the bottom, sides, and shores of these marine gardens of the dawn races of such extraordinary spheres. Even on Urantia, there was a long age during which primitive man preserved himself and advanced his primitive civilization by living for the most part in the treetops, as did his earlier arboreal ancestors. And on Urantia, you still have a group of diminutive mammals, the bat family, that are air navigators, and your seals and whales of marine habitat are also of the mammalian order. In Satania, of the elemental types, 7% are water, 10% air, 70% land, and 13% combined land and air types. But these modifications of early intelligent creatures are neither human fishes nor human birds. They are of the human and pre-human types, neither superfishes nor glorified birds, but distinctly mortal.
That's so trippy, dude. This paper is so sick.
Yeah.
Fucking bird people are real. The blue avians that everybody talks about. I'm like, okay, that's definitely a possibility. The Mothman, the Mothman looks like a bat, supposedly a bat human.
You think that's a stranded ET
that appears?
ET that's like stranded here.
Could be a stranded ET. They say it always appears around catastrophe. It never hurts anybody, but anytime the catastrophe is about to happen, the Mothman will show up and try. They say it's like trying to get the people ready. Like, hey, take shelter.
You think this Mothman's got a Messiah complex? He only comes out of his underground cave when something bad's about to happen. He's like
rogue vigilante.
Yeah, he's like, I know people are scared of me, so I'm gonna use that. Or he's like, they won't talk to me, but I'll warn them of the upcoming catastrophe.
So, oh my God, Mothman, get in your fucking house. He's like, no, there's really a volcano coming, but yeah, sure, if that's what makes you get in the house, that's fine.
He's literally he's the modern cool. Noah Ark.
The intergalactic Noah's Ark. Fucking
yeah.
This also makes me, like I said before, the depiction of the Sumerian gods. Some of them are fish or reptilian, like the Dogon tribe. They depict the beings who landed in the water. So it's like, fuck, dude.
I guess it starts to make you think like, okay, maybe they're not like symbolic representations. Maybe some of the species that have visited were really like of the water type.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trippy. Something to chew on.
It's giving us a little preview here. It's like, look, even on Urantia, like the bat family, the whales and the fishes, like it's kind of suggesting that they could have become the evolved species instead of us.
Yeah.
But we, the treetop land growing species, we became, the main thing. But on other planets, it's not like that. So, little mental picture for you.
Yeah, how sick would it have been to retain our or to somehow be in a bird or some shit?
Yeah,
like those advanced planets that retain their flying ability but still walk around. That must be fucking fresh, dude.
Yeah, but you wonder. I bet these bird people have a podcast and they're like, "Yo, what about those land types on those other planets? They can run, like they can run faster than us.
You're right.
We have to fly."
Yeah.
So same
and
difference.
We have cloacas. We have to rub our cloacas. They actually can have sex. Yeah, my penis is a big corkscrew, dude. This is annoying. Um, like ducks. But I'll read the next like three things because they're tiny.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The gravity types. By modification of creative design, intelligent beings are so constructed that they can freely function on spheres both smaller and larger than Urantia, thus being, in measure, accommodated to the gravity of those planets which are not of ideal size and density. The various planetary types of mortals vary in height, the average in Nebadon being a trifle under 7 feet. Some of the larger worlds are peopled with beings who are only about 2.5 feet in height. Mortal stature ranges from here on up through the average heights of the average sized planets to around 10 feet on the smaller inhabited worlds. In Satania, there is only one race under 4 feet in height. 20% of the Satania inhabited worlds are peopled with mortals of the modified gravity types, occupying the larger and smaller planets.
Wait, so
Okay,
that
so when
four
you see the
feet thing?
tall
Go
Nordics,
ahead.
yeah, when you see the tall Nordics or any being that's tall, they're coming from a small planet.
Because of the gravity differential.
Yeah.
Now, it's interesting. There's only one race under 4 feet in height. People talk about the Greys being like that and shorter. Makes you is that proof that the short ones are actually androids? They're not actually the real species. Because there's
Oh,
no one there's only one race that short under 4 feet.
damn.
Just a
I
little
like it. Good
thing that I
connection.
connected.
Yeah.
It's a little
Mobile
loose, but
construction
yeah,
unit.
it's like if you see a 2 foot tall alien, uh, it's probably something else. I don't know. I don't know.
Hmm. And like the Peruvian mummies, I wonder what
Oh, if they're
the
that
height is for the
small.
shortest ones. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
they have like metal implants in their chest and shit. And like a lot of people thinking that they could be
Oh, but
androids.
I guess they could be kids because kids are small when they're, okay, say
Oh,
the
yeah,
four
you're
feet
right. It's
being, and
fully
they have
grown.
their kids when they
True that.
start. So,
Okay.
oh man, we can't
You're right.
figure
You're
it
right.
out.
So adults. We're talking about adults.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. Look at that. Solving it in real time, baby. The temperature types. It is possible to create living beings who can withstand temperatures both much higher and much lower than the life ranges of the Urantia races. There are 5 distinct orders of beings as they are classified with reference to heat regulating mechanism. In this scale, the Urantia races are number 3. 30% of Satania worlds are peopled with races of modified temperature types. 12% belong to the higher temperature ranges and 18% to the lower as compared with Urantians who function in the mid temperature group. Damn motherfuckers out there with like iron skin that can just fly into suns. I'm thinking of the dude from Fantastic Four,
Yeah.
whatever
Silver
the fuck that guy
Surfer.
is.
That guy?
Yeah, I was thinking the Rock dude.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
The Rock guy. But yeah, the Silver Surfer too. Uh, and yeah, we know those are fucking fake movie characters, guys. Relax. Just using them as examples. Uh, the electric types. The electric, magnetic, and electronic behaviors of the worlds varies greatly. There are 10 designs of mortal life variously fashioned to withstand the differential energy of the spheres. These 10 varieties also react in slightly different ways to the chemical rays of ordinary sunlight. But these slight physical variations in no way affect the intellectual or spiritual life. Of these electric groupings of mortal life, almost 23% belong to class number 4, the Urantia type of existence. These types are distributed as follows. Number 1, 1%. Wow, that's a small number. Number 2, 2%. Number 3, 5%. Number 4, 23%. Number 5, 27%. Number 6, 24%. Number 7, 8%. Number 8, 5%. Number 9, 3%. And number 10, 2% in whole percentages. So that's just different ways that our, I guess, nervous system is electrified.
Hmm.
Or maybe the way their body can react to the magnetosphere of their planet
Yeah, I'm
is
trying to
more like
figure
what I'm
out what
saying.
exactly they mean. Like, because when they, on the surface level, when they say electric types, I'm imagining like they have a light body, like an electric body or something. But it seems so. But what is it really saying here? 10 varieties that react slightly different to the different ways to the chemical rays of ordinary sunlight. But these slight physical variations. Oh, I wonder if this has to do with like we as mammals and stuff like reacting to the sunlight. I wonder if they're reacting more to the electrical spectrum more than for example, reptiles here, the sun is very important to them. But what if electromagnetic waves was actually more important to this species? Is that what it's
Okay, yeah, I see
trying
what
to
you're
get to?
saying. Yeah.
Of the groupings. Okay, this class system, class number 4, is it describing these classes? Is that referencing the temperature type class numbers? The Urantia type of existence. These types are distributed as follows. Like it's giving categories here, but I'm not sure what it's getting to with these categories. The electric groupings. Okay, so this is all mortal life. Each species has a type of electric type, which is about how they react to different chemical rays of ordinary sunlight. And it looks like D-Bake might be frozen. He probably doesn't. I don't know if he knows he's frozen. Okay, so yeah, of all the Urantia, we belong to class number 4. These types are distributed as follows. Number 1, 1%. Number 2, 2%. 3, 5%. 4, 23%. 5, 27. Number 6, 24%. 7, 8%. Number 8, 5%. Number 9, 3%. And number 10, 2% in whole percentages. The energizing types. Not all worlds are alike in the manner of taking in energy. Not all inhabited worlds have an atmospheric ocean suited to respiratory exchange of gases, such as is present on Urantia. During the earlier and the later stages of many planets, beings of your present order could not exist, and when the respiratory factors of a planet are very high or very low, but when all the other prerequisites to intelligent life are adequate, the life carriers often establish on such worlds a modified form of mortal existence, beings who are competent to affect their life process exchanges directly by means of light energy and the first-hand power transmutations of the master physical controllers.
That's trippy.
There are 6 differing types of animal and mortal nutrition. The sub-breathers employ the first type of nutrition, the marine dwellers the second, the mid-breathers the third, as on Urantia. The super-breathers employ the 4th type of energy intake, while the non-breathers utilize the 5th order of nutrition and energy. The 6th technique of energizing is limited to the midway creatures. Oh.
Ooh.
So it does involve that when they say electric types. The unnamed types. There are numerous additional physical variations in planetary life, but all of these differences are wholly matters of anatomical modification, physiologic differentiation, and electrochemical adjustment. Such distinctions do not concern the intellectual or the spiritual life. I thought it was funny how it talked about beings surviving off the sun, basically.
Yeah, just like meditating in the sunlight.
Because there's humans that say that they can do that, and then it's always like generally when they test them, they kind of end up failing out. But it's like they're trying to. It's like I don't know. Maybe they're a starseed from a system, and they want that to be true. But
maybe they came from a system like that, just in their subconscious. Like this is how you normally eat, right? And we're like, no, you idiot. We're on Urantia. Don't work like that anymore. But that's pretty cool. And then it talks about the midway creatures having their own technique of energizing, which is pretty fucking dope. And I like how it says, different types of respiratory factors. I mean, we hear about the stories of the Greys, supposedly, when they find the crashed discs, there's vats of like organic juice. And when they eat, they have to like put their arms in the liquid vat to eat, and it smells like shit. And when they shit and piss, it actually excretes through their skin.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, kind of seems like that's what's being talked about here, if you want to make the connection.
Yeah, definitely possible.
Ooh, let's go on to the hot sexiness, the worlds of the non-breathers. For all the viewers out there, I'd like to shout out to you guys. You guys are the reason that we do it. If you haven't hit that like button, I want to ask you to hit that like button real quick. Helps us get to the front page and helps us get this information out. Let's keep it reading. And hit that subscribe button, baby. Don't forget to do that. Worlds of the non-breathers. Keep talking that bullshit. I'll send you to that world right now, bro. We don't have to go there. I'll just put my hand around your neck. I got jokes. The majority of inhabited planets are peopled with the breathing type of intelligent beings. But there are also orders of mortals who are able to live on worlds with little or no air. Of the Orvantan inhabited worlds, this type amounts to less than 7%. In Nebadon, this percentage is less than 3. In all Satania, there are only 9 such worlds. There are so very few of the non-breather type of inhabited worlds in Satania because this more recently organized section of Norlashadek still abounds in meteoric space bodies, and worlds without a protective friction atmosphere are subject to incessant bombardment by these wanderers. Even some of the comets consist of meteor swarms, but as a rule, they are disrupted smaller bodies of matter. Millions upon millions of meteoroids enter the atmosphere of Urantia daily, coming in at the rate of almost 200 miles a second. On the non-breathing worlds, the advanced races must do much to protect themselves from meteor damage by making electrical installations which operate to consume or shunt the meteors. Great danger confronts them when they venture beyond these protected zones. These worlds are also subject to disastrous electrical storms of a nature unknown on Urantia. During such times of tremendous energy fluctuation, the inhabitants must take refuge in their special structures of protective insulation. That is such a trippy paragraph. I remember when I first read that, I was like, what? There's entire planets of beings that have to set up like electrical cages above their cities to protect them from meteors? Like, did they evolve in caves until they figured out technology? Like, that must have been a crazy evolutionary process. And then electrical storms that we can't even fathom. That's, I don't know, just a cool little mental picture in there. Like, we kind of got it easy on Earth.
It sounds like the space radiation and maybe solar flares. Like without an atmosphere, they create weird storms.
Mm. Damn! Imagine getting electrical storms from space, like not just from your atmosphere. Like, phew, like fuck that, dude.
Cell towers going out.
Yeah,
Where's the
yeah.
internet?
I kind of want to go. I want to go check out one of these planets for a little bit. That'd be sick.
Yeah, could we even
See if I got what it
survive?
takes to make it. Yeah, exactly. These soft bodies, these breathers over here don't last 2 seconds. Um, what you need some air, you pussy. All right. Life on the worlds of the non-breathers is radically different from what is on Urantia. The non-breathers do not eat food or drink water as do the Urantia races. Their reactions of the nervous system, the heat regulating mechanism, and the metabolism of these specialized peoples are radically different from such functions of Urantia mortals. Almost every act of living, aside from reproduction, differs, and even the methods of procreation are somewhat different. Oh, are they saying we can fuck each other? Wow, that's trippy. On for all you alien fetish boys out there. On the non-breathing worlds, the animal species are radically unlike those found on the atmospheric planets. The non-breathing plan of life varies from technique of existence on an atmospheric world. Even in survival, their peoples differ, being candidates for spirit fusion. Nevertheless, these beings enjoy life and carry forward the activities of the realm with the same relative trials and joys that are experienced by the mortals living on atmospheric worlds. In mind and character, the non-breathers do not differ from other mortal types. Then look at this last little cryptic fucking paragraph. You would be more than interested in the planetary conduct of this type of mortal because such a race of beings inhabits a sphere in close proximity to Urantia. Hair standing up. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Are those the Greys? You know? because
Giving
they
me
eat different. There's
cosmic
different.
blueies.
Yeah, and maybe that's why they developed extremely advanced craft that can travel through using electromagnetic drives, because their planet is stripped of an atmosphere, and they had to develop
Oh.
this kind of technology to survive.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Right? Trippy. And they're close to us, so they can get here if they had the means to.
Close proximity.
Yeah, whatever
You
that
wonder
means.
what how they configure. Are they talking about close in their terms or in
In
our
solar
terms?
system, or yeah, exactly. In
Yeah,
solar
what if it's
system or
that
out of solar
crazy? Yeah,
system.
like our solar system. It's probably on Pluto.
Nibiru, Planet
Nibiru.
X.
Wild.
Some food for thought.
Evolutionary will creatures. There are great differences between the mortals of the different worlds, even among those belonging to the same intellectual and physical types. But all mortals of will dignity are erect animals, bipeds. There are 6 basic evolutionary races, 3 primary, red, yellow, and blue, and 3 secondary, orange, green, and indigo. Most inhabited worlds have all of these races, but many are the 3-brain planets harbor only 3 primary types. Some local systems also have only these 3 races. The average special physical sense endowment of human beings is 12, though the special senses of the 3-brain mortals are extended slightly beyond those of the 1 and 2 brain types. They can see and hear considerably more than the Urantia races. And, they're talking about these 3-brained species. The thought that kind of came into my mind was like, what exactly would be the fashion sense of a 3-brained mortal being?
Oh shit, they probably dress fly, dude.
Like, surely they're looking dapper. They got a whole extra brain to come up with new ideas. And I'd actually like to put it out there in the universe for these 3-brained mortals to consider coming to Earth, to come on the podcast and talk to us about this sense of fashion, because what we want to show you is our actual sense of fashion, and we're actually going to show you right now. So let's cut to this and see what 3-brain species might be interested.
I need your attention, everybody. This just in. The New Jersey drones are now over New York, LA, and every major capital on the face of planet Earth. They keep repeating a message over the 6 gigahertz frequency band, and it keeps saying, Planetary HQ has cosmic garments for your physical mechanism. In other words, we got that drip. Straight from the Galactic Federation wardrobe, these tees vibrate at the frequency of chill. Ribbed knit collars lovingly hug your neck chakra, preventing collar droop across dimensions. Tapered shoulders enhance your interstellar silhouette, perfect for Earth missions and beyond. Dual side seams stabilize your style, ensuring your energy stays aligned even when encountering planetary turbulence. Crafted from 100% classified heirloom combed and ring-spun cotton, this feather-light fabric breathes like you're cruising through the astral plane. Ideal for layering beneath your space cloak or relaxing at your Earth base. The tailored retail fit transitions seamlessly from casual Earthling mode to I've got crystals in my pocket and I ain't from here chic, making it essential apparel for your rigorous interdimensional journey. So check out them shirts. We got a bunch of different colors. Link is in the description. Your contributions directly support spiritual operations on the front line in the battle for truth, beauty, and righteousness. With your help, we can help change the face of planet Earth, and we can look fly while doing it. Okay, now that we can fund the Black Budget Anti-Grav program, let's get back to the show.
And we're back.
Dang, man, that was crazy. They just broke into our transmission like that. I think that was like some doppelganger. You see, that's fucking weird, man. They
Three brain
generated a body.
doppelganger.
Yeah, they generated a body
Look
and
just like
fucking
you.
broke
Cloning or
into the
something.
transmission.
That's
That's trippy.
insane.
I don't know,
And
dude.
they're selling
Don't
our
buy that shit.
shirts.
That's fucking crazy, dog. We need to talk to him about that.
Yeah. But, they also edited the description of the video and the link is in there, unfortunately.
Damn, we gotta get better security, man. That's fucking crazy. Ah. Next thing you know, the CIA is gonna be in here. Okay, back. But go buy yourself a fucking shirt. Go look sick. Back to the text. Evolutionary will creatures, baby. That's what we are. That's what the Urantia book refers to mortals. Evolutionary will creatures. There are great differences between the mortals of the different worlds, even among those belonging to the same intellectual and physical types. But all mortals of will dignity are erect animals, bipeds. Ooh, that's a controversial statement. The squid people of Celeron Sector 6 have a problem with that. That's hate. No, but it is kind of interesting that they're saying that they're all erect animals, bipeds.
Biped is
They
the
are
master race.
bipedal. Oh shit. Sorry, guys. Uh, all student visitors who got 8 legs. My bad. But I'm wondering how like hard of a rule that is, because there's always wiggle room in the Urantia book. There are 6 basic evolutionary races. This is what you just said. God damn it, I'm so stupid. Keep reading. Keep reading. You just read this part, right? Yeah. Oh wait, is it your turn
uh,
to read?
I was reading and then I transferred it.
Oh, okay.
We got to the 3 brain, 6 basic evolution. No, I didn't read that. Keep going.
Okay. There are 6 basic evolutionary races: 3 primary, red, yellow, and blue, and 3 secondary, orange, green, and indigo. Most inhabited worlds have all these races, but many of the 3 brain planets harbor only the 3 primary races. Some local systems also only have these 3 races. The average special physical sense endowment of human beings is 12, though the special sense of the 3 brain mortals are extended slightly beyond those of the 1 and 2 brain types. They can see and hear considerably more than the Urantia races. Young are usually born singly, multiple births being the exception, and the family life is fairly uniform on all types of planets. Sex equality prevails on all advanced worlds. Male and female are equal in mind endowment and spiritual status. We do not regard a planet as having emerged from barbarism so long as one sex seeks to tyrannize over the other. This feature of creature experience is always greatly improved after the arrival of Adam and Eve, or the material son and daughter. That's one of the biggest takeaways of the Urantia book right there, people. The celestial beings, the aliens, the higher advanced ET races, they don't regard planets having emerged from barbarism as long as one sex tries to tyrannize over the other. So have we even exited barbarism yet? Because last time I checked, our entire male-female dynamic is based on one trying to tyrannically rule over the other. The males are doing it right now to the females, and it's not fucking cool. So something we can work on, guys. If you really want to try to reintegrate with the Galactic Federation, maybe start understanding the power dynamic of male and female is distorted on Earth, and we should work on that. That's a big deal. Because I don't want to be a barbarian. I want to be with Spock and fucking Captain Kirk on the Enterprise. Seasons and temperature variations occur on all sunlighted and sun-heated planets. Agriculture is universal on all atmospheric worlds. Tilling the soil is the one pursuit that is common to the advancing races of all such planets. Mortals all have the same general struggles with microscopic foes in the early days, such as your now experience on Urantia, though perhaps not so extensive. The length of life varies on different planets from 25 years on the primitive worlds to about 500 on the more advanced and older spheres. Human beings are all gregarious, both tribal and racial. These group segregations are inherent in their origin and constitution. Such tendencies can be modified only by advancing civilization and by gradual spiritualization. The social, economic, and governmental problems of the inhabited worlds vary in accordance with the age of the planets and the degree to which they have been influenced by the successive sojourns of the divine sons. Mind is the bestowal of the infinite spirit and functions quite the same in diverse environments. The mind of mortals is akin, regardless of certain structural or chemical differences which characterize the physical natures of the will creatures of the local systems. Regardless of personal or physical planetary differences, the mental life of all of these various orders of mortals is very similar, and their immediate careers after death are very much alike. But mortal mind without immortal spirit cannot survive. The mind of man is mortal. Only the bestowed spirit is immortal. Survival is dependent on spiritualization by the ministry of the adjuster. On the birth and evolution of the immortal soul, at least there must not have developed an antagonism towards the adjuster's mission of effecting the spiritual transformation of the material mind. That's beautiful. So they're just saying that there's a bunch of different types of celestial beings, evolutionary will creatures that have different backgrounds, evolved from monkeys, evolved from lemurs, evolved from bats, dolphins, whatever, you name it. A bunch of different types out there. And we're going to have to learn to integrate with them when we die. Because when we die, we all go to the same classrooms. And it's kind of like getting over cosmic racism. We're experiencing it down here, as above, so below. We can barely get over human beings with a different shade of skin. It's gonna be fucking hard to integrate with a group of bat people and fucking mantis people. That racial tendency is just gonna come up there too, guys. And that's what the Urantia Book explains. There is no magic button you press, you die, and you wake up and everything's perfect. You pick up exactly where you left off down here. So all of those energy blockages, all those data points that you never achieved that you were supposed to achieve on planet Earth, guess what? You're going to have to learn up there. And if racism was stuck in you down here, yeah, you're going to have to deal with that up there. That's just how it is. It's called fucking when the rubber meets the road, dog. Damn, my light just died, but whatever. Keep it going. Keep it going. Cosmic racism, baby. Fuck yeah. Let's see who's going to make it and who won't.
Is it me?
Yeah, it's you, but we can hop back and forth because it's a pretty long one.
Yeah, the
next one.
And this quote actually fits perfectly with something that I've said on the show before, is that a lot of religions sometimes, or even maybe this is more of a case of this is true. So for example, Christianity, classic religion, it's big in America. You know, the founding fathers came over from these other countries partly because they wanted to do their religious practices without being underneath the larger churches, etc. So there's this idea that has been sort of preached to you that you are basically immortal, and you either get to spend your immortal eternity in heaven or hell. Now, Urantia does not agree with the normal concept of hell in the least. You would say that it's closer to, you could say, one thing like Deadrick said, like the things that you did not really optimize in your thought processes down here, you still get a chance in the afterlife. So it's not just like you die, judgment, and you don't get to continue because you didn't believe in Jesus in the specific way, of the atonement doctrine.
Are you sure that's not how it works? I thought that's how it works.
I mean, I'm pretty sure. And I had, 20 years of the first version until I realized the other version made much more sense. And so, this process that we go on. So like basically anyone who wants the chance to survive is going to get it. The universe is merciful like that. And it's another reason why the afterlife planets are segmented onto different classroom levels, meaning that you go to the classroom, which is associated with what your mind can handle, or like what the other people, how far they've progressed in their own spiritual progress and their cosmic citizenship. And so everyone is kind of growing together as in these groups. And yeah, but what it says here, the mind of man is mortal, only the bestowed spirit is immortal. And it calls that, the thought adjuster in this paper. You could also call it the higher self, the divine, the image of God within man. But here's what's crazy is that, like, it is possible if you choose to be very 100% service to self, not harmonizing with any of the universal concepts, it is possible to give up, you could say, your eternal potential, because that immortal spirit does not abide with you if you were to continue and only choose non-spiritual values, your own kind of, made up thing. It tries to guide you your entire mortal life. But at the end of the day, it's not like that's just like it can leave, it can depart. And I'm not saying this to be preaching some sort of fear thing, like your spirit might leave you. No, that's not the point. It's that, like, we do have to participate in our own eternal heritage. We don't automatically resurrect on the afterlife worlds. That is the process, which involves a couple different beings. And your higher self is part of that process, and that's what actually retains your memories and is able to carry on that mortal aspect of the mind into the next life. So it's just like a little bit more perspective on the afterlife and how exactly we get there, and are we immortal? This is something that we continually work on, and eventually we actually supposed to fuse with that divine fragment, and that's what really seals our immortality status as a true spirit being. At that point, we can go even further into the center of the universe. We can exit the strain of gravity on matter because we are fully spiritualized, where our body is not really affected or held down by gravity anymore. And that allows us to get even closer to the source of all creation. And that's one of the big mysteries we're unraveling and unfolding on that cosmic career is, what is the source of all creation? What is it like to really be there and experience that? So I just wanted to throw that in there because it talks about we need to understand both our mortality and our immortality so that we do not take it for granted.
Beautifully put. Goddamn. Spiritual chills. What's up, Nebula? What's going on? Nice seeing you in the chat. Got to get you on ASAP, but we'll text you right now. Just been so busy.
Yeah, Earth is the 12th grade and graduation is approaching. Yes, graduation. It's a good way to look at it. Let's keep the class running. All right. Planetary series of mortals. It will be somewhat difficult to make an adequate portrayal of the planetary series of mortals because you know so little about them. And because there's so many variations. Mortal creatures may, however, be studied from numerous viewpoints, among which are the following. 1. Adjustment to planetary environment. 2. Brain type series. 3. Spirit reception series. 4. Planetary mortal epochs. 5. Creature kinship serials. Cheerios? 6.
You can't have artificial dyes in those. No.
What is it? Captain Crunch, Cinnamon Toast
Fruit
Crunch,
Loops.
all the best cereals. Number 6, Adjuster Fusion Series. 7, Techniques of Terrestrial Escape.
Ooh, this is the banger, the sub banger within this paper. I like this little breakdown right here. It's fucking sick. And when I first read that, Techniques of Terrestrial Escape, whoa. What are they?
Yeah, it sounds like, can they get off the planet or something? Are
Yeah.
Are they interstellar? Rockets, anti-gravity UFOs, FTL drives? Let's check it out.
Solar sails. Going old school.
The inhabited spheres of the 7 superuniverses are peopled with mortals who simultaneously classify in some one or more categories of each of these 7 generalized classes of evolutionary creature life. But even these general classifications make no provision for such beings as midnighters, nor for certain other forms of intelligent life. The inhabited worlds, as they have been presented in these narratives, are peopled with evolutionary mortal creatures, but there are other life forms. Just what are
Ooh.
you not telling us?
Right, exactly. Fuck.
Adjustment to planetary environment. Number 1. There are 3 general groups of inhabited worlds from the standpoint of the adjustment of creature life to the planetary environment: the normal adjustment group, the radical adjustment group, and the experimental group. Normal adjustments to planetary conditions follow the general physical patterns previously considered. The worlds of the non-breathers typify the radical or extreme adjustment, but other types are also included in this group. Experimental worlds are usually ideally adapted to the typical life forms, and on these decimal planets, the life carriers attempt to produce beneficial variations in the standard life designs. Since your world is an experimental planet, it differs markedly from its sister spheres in Satania. Many forms of life have appeared on Urantia that are
Ooh.
not found elsewhere. Likewise, are many common species absent from your planet. Aw.
Yeah, that's trippy. That honestly makes me want to like save the whales now and shit.
Yeah. What if it's the last whale in the galaxy?
Exactly. Like, fuck, dude. Can't let it die. Not on
Yeah,
our watch.
I wonder if the common species absent from our planet includes that little fur ball that the lady handed to Chris Bledsoe.
Oh, shit. The fucking tribble.
Yeah,
You're
the
right. That could
tribble.
be like one of the basic things that was missing from ours. It's like, here,
Every
you
planet
need one
has
of these.
tribbles.
This
Where,
will
yeah.
help you. Yeah. That's crazy. I like that. Fuck yeah.
In the universe of Nebadon, all the life modification worlds are serially linked together and constitute a special domain of universe affairs, which is given attention by designated administrators. And all of these experimental worlds are periodically inspected by a corps of universe directors, whose chief is the veteran finaliter known in
Wow.
Satania as Tabamantia.
Woo, look at this. Hair's standing up right now. Veteran finaliter Tabamantia is in charge of this. That means, so a veteran finaliter for the listeners out there, those are evolutionary mortals who did the entire universe ascent, made it to the Father, and the Father gave him a special mission back into the universe. This fool has seen some shit. Fuck. That's sick, dude. Shout out to Tabamantia. Big dog. Big dog. Fucking meme.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
that's hilarious.
big question is was Tabamantia of the male or female type on their planet? What if
Good
Tabamantia
question.
is a boss lady? We don't
You're
know.
right. Definitely could be for sure.
Veteran
Could for
finaliter.
sure.
But look, people, I say that, kind of jesting, because on planet Earth, we got a lot of competition between the genders, and but as spirit beings, finaliters are far beyond that, meaning the body types, are not mortal, reproductive organs, etc. But it's a valid experience that we all carry with us through our evolutionary origin throughout the cosmos. We still have our mind is still polarized by our origin stories, and so yeah, I'm just being a little what I don't know, little jokey about it. So Tabamantia, shout out to Tabamantia, finaliter of
Could be
Nebadon.
Tabawomansha.
Mancha, Tabawomansha. Nice, you
Sorry,
got it.
just being stupid. I got him. Brain type series. The one physical uniformity of mortals is the brain and nervous system. Nevertheless, there are 3 basic organizations of the brain mechanism: the 1, the 2, and the 3-brained types. Urantians are of the 2-brained type, somewhat more imaginative and adventurous, and philosophical than the 1-brained mortals, but somewhat less spiritual, ethical, and worshipful than the 3-brained orders. These brain differences characterize even the pre-human animal existences. From the 2-hemisphere type of the Urantia cerebral cortex, you can, by analogy, grasp something of the 1-brained type. The 3rd brain of the 3-brained orders is best conceived as an evolvement of your lower or rudimentary form of brain, which is developed to the point where it functions chiefly in control of physical activities, leaving the 2 superior brains free for higher engagements. one for intellectual functions and the other for the spiritual counterparting activities of the thought adjuster. So that paragraph gives you a lot of insight right there. We talk about this a lot on other episodes, and I like to talk about it a lot too. It's this cool concept of hemispheres. Like we have two brain hemispheres that are sitting on top of a amygdala, like a little triangle that sits on your spine. Your amygdala is considered your lizard brain. That's why when people are stupid, you call them lizard brain. That So reptiles only have amygdalas. They don't have hemispheres. So they only have a triangle that sits on top of their spine. Over time, our cortex developed two fat hemispheres that sit on top of that amygdala triangle. If you cut open the head of every animal on planet Earth, you'll see both hemispheres exactly equal. There's only one animal where you cut open their brains and the hemispheres are not equal. One's bigger than the other, and that's the human being. It depends on what type of thinking you are. For the most part, males tend to have bigger left sides of brains and females tend to have bigger right sides of the brain, but that's not a hard rule. It can go back and forth depending on what personality type you have. But according to some of my studies, the entire goal is to resync the hemispheres, to get that hemisync going on so that they're both at the exact same level so that they can distribute information and energy back and forth like a powerhouse. So that's when you develop them and sync them, try to get them to the same size. So that means your logic body and your intuitive body are both developed and coordinated and functioning properly. Now, it's using the hemispheres as the example. When it says we're two-brained, it means we have two hemispheres. I guess there's planets where there's only one hemisphere or it's a single sphere. And they're saying the three brain types actually isn't another hemisphere, but it's a way more developed amygdala. And I think about this a lot. I'm like, damn, dude, like, what is this? How does this work? Like, a lot of the times I multitask and I'm multitasking, and it's hard for me to keep thoughts in the forefront of my mind while I'm multitasking, and I'll forget something or whatever. Oh, crap, I forgot my fucking card on my table. I feel like they don't go through that shit because it says it's so developed for physical tasks. Like, they can just tell their brain to do something and they don't think about it anymore. And their body will start to just like clean the dishes. And now they can they can clean the dishes and do physical activities without thinking about it so that they can only focus on the mental, spiritual aspect of what they're doing. So it's like thing, meaning, and value. They don't really focus on the thing too much. The thing is on autopilot. So it kind of clears up their brain to only think about meaning and value, which is pretty dope. And it gives you a little bit of insight right here. It says it's developed to the point where it functions chiefly in control of physical activities, leaving the two superior brains, aka the hemispheres, one for intellectual functions. We know that the left side of the brain is logic. When scientists put electrodes on people's heads and they stimulate it, they zap their brains. They did this as an experiment. They zapped just the left hemisphere, which turned off the left hemisphere, and they put a pencil in front of a lady. And the lady couldn't talk. She couldn't use words anymore, but she was going like this. She was looking and saying, she knows what it is used for. She's writing. Then they did the same thing. They shocked her right hemisphere, so it turned off her right hemisphere. And then she was like, it's called a pen. I know the name, it's yellow, but I don't know what it's used for. So she couldn't recall what it was used for, but she could recall the name with her left hemisphere on. With her right hemisphere on, she couldn't recall the name, but only can recall the use behind it. So it's showing you the logic and the words for identifying concepts, putting words to them. And then the right hemisphere is for like the feeling behind it, the spiritual energy behind it. And it gives you insight right here. One left side for intellectual functions, and the right side, it gives you more insight. It says it's counterparting activities for the divine fragment within. So it's trying to spiritualize your mind. I'm just trying to shed some light on exactly what they're talking about here so that the viewers can get a more HD 4K mental picture. That there's a lot going on there. You're part of the two brain types. You do have a rudimentary third brain. And that when we meet the ETs, they're either going to be 1, 2, or 3 brained. And yeah, how are they going to be different than us? Are they going to, I don't know, be able to sing and dance and cook a fucking hamburger at the same time? I don't know.
Yeah. That is interesting. Yeah. So having a whole sort of segment that the thought adjuster, the spiritual divine fragment kind of utilizes, so much. I think the reason why meditation is so associated with spirituality is partly because for us two brain mortals who, are relatively not entirely in sync with the left and right hemispheres, um, we have to search and develop mental silence in order to really tap into the spiritual intuition that can come as that, tiny whisper, as people might call it, the whisper of the spirit guiding us throughout our life. And yeah, a lot of people's experiences, it comes from, during that ability to silence the mind helps that receptivity capacity, arrive and be more available throughout daily life. So, yeah, look, we only got two brains. The three brainers, maybe they don't gotta learn meditation and learn that mental silence, but we do. So let's make sure we're reaching for the stars with the two brains that we do have, and working with the thought adjuster with the limitations that it's working with. So, yeah.
Ball it up, baby. While the terrestrial attainments of the one-brain races are slightly limited in comparison with the two-brained orders, the older planets of the three-brain group exhibit civilizations that would astound Urantians, and which would somewhat shame yours by comparison. In mechanical development and material civilization, even in intellectual progress, the two-brain mortal worlds are able to equal the three-brain spheres. But in higher control of mind and development of intellectual and spiritual reciprocation, you are somewhat inferior. All such comparative estimates concerning the intellectual progress or spiritual attainment of any world or group of worlds should in fairness recognize planetary age. Duh. Much, very much depends on age, the help of the biologic uplifters, and the subsequent missions of the various orders of the divine sons. Yeah, I mean, if you're older planets, you keep getting missions sent from paradise, so obviously your tech's gonna be fucking sick, dude. Um, while the three-brained peoples are capable of a slightly higher planetary evolution than either the one or two-brained orders, all have the same type of life plasm and carry on planetary activities in very similar ways, much as do human beings on Urantia. These three types of mortals are distributed throughout the worlds of the local systems. In the majority of cases, planetary conditions had very little to do with the decisions of the life carriers to project these varied orders of mortals on the different worlds. It is a prerogative of the life carriers thus to plan and execute. These three orders stand on an equal footing in the ascension career. Each must traverse the same intellectual scale of development, and each must master the same spiritual tests of progression. The system administration and the constellation over control of these different worlds are uniformly free from discrimination. Even the regimes of the planetary princes are identical. Trippy, trippy. That's cool. I always wonder what the one brain races are like. And did I get this from you or Magma? I forget. Like the Ewoks from Star Wars. Like, like the little furry bird. They're intelligent, they're there, but they can't really develop that super advanced civilization. But
Mm-hmm.
they're learning spiritual
What if
lessons their own
Sasquatch was
little way.
one-brained?
Yeah.
That's why.
Oh,
That's why.
that's hot. That's a
That's
hot
why
take.
Ra calls him second density. I don't know,
Ah,
but
I like that.
I guess even monkeys though are probably two-brained.
Yeah,
That's a good. Yeah.
but
But Sasquatch, maybe that's why they can't talk.
yeah, exactly. Maybe it's from like your fucking hypothesis that he was put on our planet because his planet went into catastrophe, right?
Well, yeah,
And
some
like
of the Mars inhabitants
Mars,
allegedly
right?
were
So maybe the
transplanted
Mars or one brain types, spirit
subbreathers, yeah,
fusers,
one-brained and
yeah,
subbreathers. That's why they blew themselves
could be.
up.
They hated their life. They're like, fuck this. Sorry, jokes, guys. We're just joking, angels.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep rolling. I can read this next one too. Fuck, did I leave off? Yes. Okay. Yes. Spirit reception series.
19 there.
There are three groups of mind design as related to contact with spirit affairs. This classification does not refer to the 1, 2, and 3-brained orders of mortals. It refers primarily to gland chemistry, more particularly the organization of certain glands comparable to the pituitary bodies. Hey, that's the pineal gland. The pituitary and the pineal gland are right in front and back of each other. There's something to do with that calcified pituitary. Fucking cue the QAnon deep state fucking conspiracy people.
I don't use fluoride in my toothpaste.
Me neither. I'm anti-fluoride too. The races on some worlds have 1 gland, on others 2, as do Urantians. While on still other planets, the races have 3 of these unique bodies. The Keys of Enoch talks about that too, and it says that on the advanced third, whatever type, it appears as a jewel that protrudes through the forehead like a gem. According to the Keys of Enoch. The inherent imagination and spiritual receptivity is definitely influenced by this differential chemical endowment. And what's cool is there's a scientific study that a university a couple of years ago found for the first time the first crystalline, like a real true crystalline structure in the human body, a crystal, and it's in our pineal gland. It's kind of weird. You guys can look it up. I'll try to find the shit for you guys.
Shout out Gary Tong in the chat. Gary's got an epic YouTube channel. He makes a lot of content involving Urantia, so we can post a link to it. But what's up, Gary? Glad you're
big bro
here.
Gary, what's going on? Nice to have you in the chat. You got to do an episode pretty soon here, man. You got to get on the pod, dog. I love what you're doing too, man. Go check out his videos. His videos are sick. Gary Tongi, he's in the chat. Visions Afar. We'll put the link in the chat for you guys. You guys want to know more about the Urantia book? That's the guy to go check it out with. So where were we at? Still that second,
chemical endowment, spirit receptive series.
Yeah, of the spirit reception types, 65% are of the second group, like the Urantia races. 12% are of the first type, naturally less receptive, while 23% are more spiritually inclined during the terrestrial life. But such distinctions do not survive natural death. All these racial differences pertain only to life in the flesh. That's what's up. So when we die, when the 3-brain people die, we all turn to the same shit. So that's only for that one physical life. I'm trying to get them 3 glands in my forehead, though. What's up with that? Got FOMO over here. Planetary FOMO.
We got Shane O'Mac in the chat too. Let's go, baby.
And Shane O'Mac. God damn, we just got the team. We got the squad out.
Or that's Shane brought Gary. Who knows who was on here first?
One of the 2. Gang. That's the squad right there. Shane O'Mac, we got an episode coming out with him pretty soon. We just recorded it, so excited.
Psychic in training.
Talking about the
Shane's
Monroe
got some wild
Institute.
experiences from the Monroe Institute.
Yeah.
It's legit.
Fucking sick. He went out with the Bledsoes, so shout out to the Bledsoes, Chris, everybody out there. And let's keep fucking reading. You want to keep reading?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by all our fans in the chat. So here we go. Where are we at?
Fuck, dude. I don't know. I think we're on Urantia.
Spirit. Where are we?
Fuck, what planet are we on again? Fuck.
What life type series is around me?
1 brains. Oh no, we good. Going back to sleep. No, I'm good.
Differential chemical, spirit receptive, 12%. All right.
Planetary
mortal epochs. This classification recognizes the succession of temporal dispensations as they affect man's terrestrial status and his reception of celestial ministry. Life is initiated on the planets by the life carriers who watch over its development until sometime after the evolutionary appearance of mortal man. Before the life carriers leave a planet, they duly install a planetary prince as ruler of the realm. With this ruler there... Yes. Angels and the Anunnaki work together under the planetary prince's rule. With this ruler, there arrives a full quota of subordinate auxiliaries and ministering helpers, and the first adjudication of the living and the dead is simultaneously with his arrival.
Oh, judgment.
first adjudication of the living and the dead when the planetary prince arrives. So basically, I guess what that means is that all the mortals who have sort of lived and died before the arrival of the planetary prince and the cosmic staff, what happens is after they die, they don't immediately go to the afterlife. They actually fall into a relatively unconscious state that the Urantia Book calls the sleeping survivors. So this is what I said earlier when it said the mind is not immortal, only the spirit fragment within man is immortal. And so some people that die, they're actually in a sleeping survivor status, meaning I guess their soul, you could say, is still on Earth in a little stasis mode. And normally what happens is they call them the planetary roll calls. And at different points in epochs in time, including major celestial events like the arrival of the angelic planetary prince, they wake up all these sleeping survivors and then they resurrect them on what they call the mansion worlds, the afterlife. And that takes a process. Like I said earlier, multiple beings are involved in this process. It's not automatic. However, it does say that if you are killing it with your spirituality and you've risen up in what it calls the psychic circles, the 7 chakras, the primal animal consciousness levels, as you progress and maximize your expression of those levels, you can actually resurrect within 3 days of your death, and your personal guardian seraphim will help you do that, and instead of waiting for that roll call. But anyway, either way, whether you're in the sleeping survivors or the guardian seraphim resurrect you right away, it doesn't change your spiritual status in the universe, meaning everyone gets the same chance. And it's just that, if you go hard in the paint, you're going to get some angels that are going to work with you on a personal level. So really cool stuff going on in behind the scenes that we're going to realize, in the afterlife.
Hell yeah. Some people might understand this concept as the harvest. That's what's talked about a lot in other celestial ET stuff. I think the Law of One refers to it as the harvest. When they come harvest souls, it sounds dark and stuff, but this is illuminating the concept a little bit better because they're trying to generate dank souls for the cosmos. And when they do, they come and pick them up and bring them to the next level. It's not like this, like harvest makes it sound like they're harvesting us, like
yeah,
some
it's
type
not like
a
soul farm.
Yeah. No.
And look,
exactly.
even Jesus used the word harvest, so that might even,
the harvest
he
is
said
plentiful.
the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. So to all the light workers
gang.
out there, gang.
Straight up. So yeah, hope we can shed some light on some of these concepts. Keep it rolling.
All right, here we go. Shane says, "LOL, lock in, Taylor. Get him."
Can lock in. Shane, what are you doing right now? If you're in your computer, join the fucking live stream, dog. Get in the
sure.
fucking skiff.
Yeah, dog, you're a reader too. You deserve to be in here. We're in the skiff, so just hop in and
if you want to join, hop in.
Get your beautiful
Gary
face.
Tongi, if you want to get in here,
where are we at with this paper here? So how much more do we got to read here? We're about 2 hours into the stream. Sometimes we split these in part 1, part 2, but
we should do that for this one.
Yeah, we got more to go. So we're on section 5, but this has section 6. Well, yeah. I mean, that could take us another 30 minutes.
No, we'll see. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's keep going and see. So, yeah, the planetary prince. I stopped to talk about the adjudication and the roll calls. The harvest. Harvest me now. With the emergence of with the emergence of human groupings, this planetary prince arrives to inaugurate human civilization and to focalize human society. Your world of confusion is no criterion of the early days of the reign of the planetary princes, for it was near the beginning of such an administration on Urantia that your planetary prince, Caligastia, cast his lot with the rebellion of the system sovereign Lucifer. Your planet has pursued a stormy course ever since. On a normal evolutionary world, racial progress attains its natural biologic peak during the regime of the planetary prince, and shortly thereafter, the system sovereign dispatches a material son and daughter to that planet. These imported beings are of service as biologic uplifters. Their default on Urantia further complicated your planetary history. They're talking about the Adam and Eve mission, which was a cosmic mission from beings that already existed in the cosmos, and they landed, and that's actually the story in Genesis. You get a version of it, a very summarized version, in which they also take out the fact that there were other pre-existing humans, a pre-Adamic race, on Earth before the arrival of Adam and Eve. So they were supposed to do a lot of things. It didn't go that well because, our system is, we exist in Satania, the system of the rebels. So the conditions here, are pretty in the trenches. That's where we are. The material son and daughters, they land on all the planets, basically, eventually. So, when the intellectual and ethical progress of a human race has reached the limits of evolutionary development, there comes an avenal son of paradise on a magisterial mission. And later on, when the spiritual status of such a world is nearing its limit of natural attainment, the planet is visited by a paradise bestowal son.
Woo! Fucking turn up, dog.
The chief mission of a bestowal son is to establish the planetary status, release the spirit of truth for planetary function, and thus affect the universal coming of the thought adjusters. And guess who that? Well, I'll read the next paragraph because it's going to reveal who that man was, who that paradise bestowal son was on our planet. Who's the boss man? Here again, Urantia deviates. There has never been a magisterial mission on your world, neither was your bestowal son of the Avenal Order. Your planet enjoyed the signal honor of becoming the mortal home planet of the sovereign son, Michael of Nebadon, a.k.a. Jesus of Nazareth.
Let's go! Fuck yeah. The most gangster in the entire universe, dude. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Basically, dope. Jesus was the ultimate starseed. He's not like a normal starseed. He did have, he's basically, he's the boss man in our sector of the universe. That's sometimes why we call him the president of the ETs, because all the ETs, as they ascend into the afterlife, including us, we are ETs to the other ETs. We're eventually going to meet Michael before we leave his capital system. On Salvington is the name of that, his specific world. And we get to dap Jesus, and we're gonna realize, oh wow, like you actually incarnated on Earth as well and did a special mission. And one of the couple things happened. The Spirit of Truth is like a consciousness network from the logos of our system of Nebadon, aka Jesus, Michael of Nebadon. And that's a consciousness network that became accessible. It was like a new spiritual Wi-Fi broadcasting on planet Earth, and we all benefit from that.
Update to 5G, 6G.
Yeah. Uh-oh, don't say that. Need to get my Metatron sticker out to reflect the 5G to cancel out the rays, the cancerous rays.
Michael's a deep state plant trying to fry your brain with cosmic radiation.
And in the chat, Nebula, this book, it's on Amazon. That's probably the easiest place to get it. If you're not a supporter of Amazon per se, you could probably find it at Barnes and Nobles. Just like look or call. It's decently popular in maybe major bookstores. Like they should have a copy. You can, I've gotten them from Amazon before. Hardcover, softcover. There's different types. It's pretty easy to get. And you can also read it for free online if you got that itch before waiting for it to get shipped. And that's what we got.
It's all free
PDF.
Online.
So I got physical copies too. So okay.
Here's the paper we're reading, guys. I don't know if you threw it in the chat already, but whatever.
Yeah, early on. It's cool to drop it in again. So, Michael of Nebadon. As the result of the ministry of all the successful orders of divine sonship, the inhabited worlds and their advancing races begin to approach the apex of planetary evolution. Such worlds now become ripe for the culminating mission, the arrival of the Trinity Teacher Sons. This epoch of the Teacher Sons is the vestibule to the final planetary age, evolutionary utopia, the age of light and life. This classification of human beings will receive particular attention in a succeeding paper. Nice. Creature kinship serials. Planets are not only
this is your favorite one.
organized. Yeah, planets are not only organized vertically into systems, constellations, and so on, but the universe admin also provides for horizontal groupings according to type, series, and other relationships. This lateral administration of the universe pertains more particularly to the coordination of activities of a kindred nature, which have been independently fostered on different spheres. These related classes of universe creatures are periodically inspected by certain composite core of high personalities presided over by long-experienced finaliters. These kinship factors are manifest on all levels. For kinship serials exist among non-human personalities as well as mortal creatures, even between mortal and superhuman orders. Intelligent beings are vertically related in 12 great groups of 7 major divisions each. The coordination of these uniquely related groups of living beings is probably affected by some not fully comprehended technique of the Supreme Being. I want to pause there because...
Yeah, what the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah, creature kinship serials. There was one thing that helped me understand this a little bit. They're talking about... I'm immediately like picturing graphs. They're like, also there's a horizontal grouping of lateral relationships, and so I'm like, wait, what are they? How am I picturing this sort of on a graph when talking about relationships between beings? So this seems to be talking not about, earlier we were talking about classifications of beings, 3 brain, 2 brain, 1 brain type. This is almost like some sort of relationship. It's a creature kinship serials, and it specifically said here that one of these serials is mapping out human and superhuman relationships. So potentially talking about the relationships that we have to the angels during our mortal life and in the afterlife, because they work directly with us. Some of them even ascend with us into the finaliter core, which is a unique destiny for some of the angels as well. Midwares is another being that can, I think,
it's like seraphim and humans.
It's like the relationship between. So that's what I'm starting to get when this creature kinship serials. Serials is a weird word to use for that. I don't really. Maybe it was popular in the 50s, when this came out.
Like serial number,
yeah, like a serial number. But I guess you can classify things in groups of serial numbers, kind of in a way. But this is talking about creature kinship, relationships between beings, kinship factors.
That's trippy. Okay, so part of the seraphic ascension is to help a mortal. So we would be creature kinshiply serialed together, right?
Yeah, that's how I'm seeing it so far.
Ooh, that's hot. I'd like to see like how we're related to like the super high celestial beings, that kind of shit.
Yeah, it's sick. All working in the harmony of the spheres. Adjuster fusion series. The spiritual classification or grouping of all mortals during their pre-fusion experience is wholly determined by the relation of the personality status to the indwelling mystery monitor. Almost 90% of the inhabited worlds of Nebadon are peopled with adjuster fusion mortals, in contrast with a nearby universe where scarcely more than 1/2 of the worlds harbor beings who are adjuster indwelt candidates for eternal fusion.
Whoa, that's trippy.
Yeah, I'm rereading this kind of in my head. 90% of the inhabited worlds of
local
Nebadon
universe
are peopled with adjuster fusion mortals. Okay, not yet. In our sector of the universe that it calls Nebadon, 90% have adjuster fusion mortals, in contrast with a nearby universe where scarcely more than 1/2 of the worlds harbor beings who are adjuster indwelt. So
Michael's brother, so the next one over, another Michael's section territory. So I'm not sure if this is the right way to look at it, but so our Michael is pretty successful in generating adjuster fusion types.
Yeah,
and the Michael in that sector was only 50% successful. I don't know if you could say success is the right way.
It depends on if they're trying to do that. If the Michaels are trying to have more adjuster fusion mortals or not.
Or maybe they want more spirit fusers in that sector,
Because they're basically what we're talking about, a concept that, goes kind of in depth about our universe ascension. And this is kind of an interesting concept that maybe we can introduce here since we're talking about it. Adjuster fusion versus spirit fusion. So there are sort of primal differentiations of God consciousness at the very top. The Urantia Book calls that the Trinity. We use the familial concept of father, child, son, daughter, and mother, to try and understand the relationships of these beings that, have that high status. They call that the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. There's different ways to say it. But, again, those are somewhat human concepts that we're trying to understand the relationships between these beings. And so, yeah, these beings work in unison, but also they manifest different kind of influences into the universe. And so these thought adjusters, this image of God in man, the higher self, it comes from the first source and center, aka the Father consciousness. And it basically volunteers to indwell the human mind and work with us to take us into eternity. And if you have an adjuster, as all the humans on Earth do, that adjuster wants to fuse with your personality. And because it comes from the Father, it can take us all the way back to the Father on something that it calls the finaliter journey. We become and we eventually graduate into what's called a finaliter, meaning the final stage of the evolutionary human process into the afterlife. And before the next universe age, because there's a whole nother level that gets unlocked once once all the finaliters are working out there and all the planets are spiritualized. But that's a whole thing that we're participating in. So that's the adjuster candidate for adjuster fusion. The spirit fusion is that on other worlds, and even during the pre-stages of Earth, when not everyone had an adjuster, they could still survive into the afterlife, but not all of them fused with the thought adjuster, the higher self. They fuse with a spiritual influence from the second source and center. The third source and center is the spirit aspect of the Trinity. And there's basically just, it's a little bit different type of universe career, and you have a little bit different role. Who's to say, what's better or worse? That's not the right way to look at it. That's duality coming in, trying to be like, this versus this. Spirit fusers have a unique role in the universe as well. And that's, a different episode, but you can look up that concept and find those details. But what you need to know is that you have a thought adjuster, you have a higher self, and that gets to take you on the most wide-ranging dynamic journey, in the universe, all the way back up to the first consciousness. It's this sort of rubber band tension being stretched out, for you to experience. And, you're all the way on the outskirts of the seventh super universe, of the master grand universe. And you're going to get slingshotted back to the center of the universe, and that's your adjuster who can take you there. But you sort of become your adjuster becomes you. It's this whole fusion thing that they talk about. So it's a little breakdown.
Yeah, it's a good breakdown. Yeah, the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Some people say Father, Son, Mother, Spirit. I guess for all of the ETs out there, they can fuse with one of the parts. The Father, the Son, or the Mother, Holy Spirit. This is talking about some universe, I guess 50% of those beings, they fuse with the Holy Spirit because we fuse with the Father. And there's also Son fusion too. We'll get into that later, dude. We're not going to get into it. But for the viewers out there.
Yeah. Last paragraph here. Techniques of terrestrial escape. There is fundamentally only one way in which an individual human life can be initiated on the inhabited worlds, and that is through creature procreation and natural birth. But there are numerous techniques whereby man escapes his terrestrial status and gains access to the inward moving stream of paradise ascenders.
Shit.
There's one way in, but there's 3 ways out, 5 ways out, 10 ways out. Who knows? That's crazy.
That's fucking sick.
lit.
Yeah. So they got an entire ending section. Let's end with this. The means of terrestrial escape. We're doing it all in one episode, mega stream today, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Last part, terrestrial scape. All of the differing physical types and planetary series of mortals alike enjoy the ministry of thought adjusters, guardian angels, and the various orders of the messenger hosts of the infinite spirit. All alike are liberated from the bonds of flesh by the emancipation of natural death, and all alike go thence to the Urantia worlds of spiritual evolution and mind progress. From time to time, on motion of the planetary authorities or the system rulers, special resurrections of the sleeping survivors are conducted. Such resurrections occur at least every millennium of planetary time, when not all but many of those who sleep in the dust awake. That's from the Bible. These special resurrections are the occasion for mobilizing special groups of ascenders for special service, for specific service in the local universe plan of mortal ascension. There are both practical reasons and sentimental associations connected with these special resurrections. Sentimental associations? What? So, like, if you got a brother or sister who's sleeping survivor, you can be like, no, let's raise him up because I have sentiment. um,
And
Throughout
also
the
every
earlier ages,
millennium, 1,000 years. I wondered about that. So they pretty much do it every 1,000 years. It's saying.
every millennium, yeah, I think so. Like special millennium roll calls, yeah, makes sense.
Well,
That's
it sounds like the
merciful,
special ones are on occasion
are
of different
different than the
celestial
millennial,
beings, but the millennium
yeah,
ones are the normal. It's on the
regular,
schedule. Yeah.
yeah, on the schedule. Yeah, that's probably it. And the
And then I
sentimental
guess
ones are probably
that
the
that
special ones.
that technically makes the law of one's harvest concept is partly like at larger points of planetary time. So there is a harvest every 1,000 years where they wake up the sleeping survivors. But I guess their concept of harvest is also like a little bit bigger, like a critical planetary. They talk about like going from third density to fourth density. It's almost like a different type of viewing from a lens of planetary like growth in
Hmm.
these stages, but it's still connected to the same concepts. Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, like you're saying, there's dispensational roll calls, which happens when the suns land, and then there's millennial roll calls, and then special roll calls. So there's a bunch of different ways they can pull souls up. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, all right, mortals of the dispensational or group order of survival. What do you know? It's gonna go over it right now. With the arrival of the first adjuster on an inhabited world, the guardian seraphim also make their appearance. They are indispensable to terrestrial escape. Throughout the life lapse period of the sleeping survivors, the spiritual values and eternal realities of their newly evolved and immortal souls are held as a sacred trust by the personal or by the group guardian seraphim. That's funny because, nothing in this book is true by Bob Frissell. It talks about the Lucifer Rebellion and that being one of the mistakes. Certain beings try to traverse space without the help of the seraphim, and that's why they created spacecraft. So they're traversing space non in seraphimed. I don't know what the fuck the implications of that is, but um, the group guardians of assignment to the sleeping survivor always function with the judgment suns on their world advents. He shall send his angels, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds. Another biblical quote. With each seraphim of assignment to their repersonalization of a sleeping mortal, there functions the returned adjuster, the same immortal father fragment that lived in him during the days of flesh. And thus is identity restored and personality resurrected. During the sleep of their subjects, these waiting adjusters serve on Divinington. They never indwell another mortal mind in this interim. While the older worlds of mortal existence harbor those highly developed and exquisitely spiritual types of human beings who are virtually exempt from the Urantia life, the earlier ages of the animal origin races are characterized by primitive mortals who are so immature that fusion with their adjusters is impossible. The reawakening of these mortals is accomplished by the guardian seraphim in conjunction with an individualized portion of the immortal spirit of the third source and center. That's what we were just talking about. Thus are the sleeping survivors of a planetary age repersonalized in the dispensational roll calls, but with regard to the non-salvable personalities of a realm. No immortal spirit is present to function with the group guardians of destiny, and this constitutes cessation of creature existence. While some of your records have pictured these events as taking place on the planets of mortal death, they all really occur on the mansion worlds. That's cool. I'm guessing they're referring to that rapture resurrection thing from the Christian philosophy, where like the dead come out of the graves and get resurrected in their body. I think
Yeah.
there's a certain
Oh yeah, because
school
that
of
would
thought.
be because there's in the Christian ideas, some of them think like literally the physical bodies here
Mhm.
on Earth are going to be resurrected. Some
Yeah.
say, oh, it's also associated with the new Earth talked about in Revelation, but this is saying that like some of that concept in the Bible is, I guess, because maybe Jesus taught some of the disciples about it. Some of them may have been having a vision of a cosmic event where they were able to perceive some of that. Certainly John's vision in Revelation was a bit of like a altered state of consciousness, a vision of the future, all that stuff going on. But yeah, this is saying that we kind of like mix it up where no, that's happening on the afterlife planets, that whole resurrection concept. It's not, here. The bones are not going to reassemble with the atoms and the graves are going to
Yeah.
get turned over. But, conceptually speaking, they are rising from their graves. Their mind, their soul, that exists in the sleeping survivorship, it does get taken off the planet to the mansion worlds.
Hell yeah. In my Father's house is many mansions. Jesus talked about it. He says in the Bible, he says, after this life, I will go there to prepare a place for you. If this was not so, I would not tell you this. So, he's just straight up telling you, bro, hey, there's mansion worlds. After I die, I'm going to go there and prepare a place for you. I'm speaking to you plainly, dude. Like, I'm not beating around the bush. If it wasn't the case, I wouldn't have told you. Like, fuck.
The
What
disciples
does
are
he
like,
mean?
"What's a world? I
Yeah.
thought the Earth was flat."
What's a world? What the fuck are you talking about, Jesus?
World?
Um, oh, we live on a world? That's crazy. Yeah, they probably just didn't even know what the fuck it was. We're just alive, dude. I mean, we live on a sphere? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
They had a concept of the heavens with the stars out there, but I do wonder like how much did they have the concept that there's spheres in space? Some
yeah,
people say that there's verses that hint that they knew that the Earth was a sphere. It is interesting. It's a little bit of a tangent, but it's weird. I mean, imagine that without modern astronomy, like you wouldn't even have a concept. We sort of take that for granted. Oh, we're on a sphere in the universe. But like with the olden times, you're literally just like, well, one, you don't know that you're on a sphere by any means, and
no,
you're just looking up and there's just like stars and lights, and you don't know that those are other spheres of energy in like a
yeah.
large time space grid. I don't know. I was like, how do you
What the
think of
fuck is
that?
that?
It's like,
Yeah,
what is it?
exactly.
Oh, those
What
are
is
those
that?
are
That's
those are light beings in the sky. Those are intelligent,
our ancestors.
our
When you die, you
ancestors.
become
Yeah,
one.
the
Yeah,
star.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny. Even today, days and age, our science is still catching up. We'll figure out pretty soon that the world is flat. So hopefully we'll get to that. Got him. Got him. I'm just kidding, guys. I don't think the Earth's flat. Um, all right.
I know
Mortals
it's
of the
flat.
individual. So exactly. That's a fucking truth. I synced it with my own eyes.
I fell
Uh,
off the edge.
yeah, exactly. Fuck it. All right. Back to the reality. Mortals of the individual orders of ascension. The individual progress of human beings is measured by their successive attainment and traversal mastery of the seven cosmic circles. These circles of mortal progression are levels of associated intellectual, social, spiritual, and cosmic insight values. Starting out in the seventh circle, mortals strive for the first, and all who have attained the third immediately have personal guardians of destiny assigned to them. These mortals may be repersonalized in the Urantia life, independent of dispensational or other adjudications. Throughout the earlier ages of an evolutionary world, few mortals go to judgment on the third day. But as the ages pass, more and more, the personal guardians of destiny are assigned to the advancing mortals, and thus increasing numbers of the evolving creatures are repersonalized on the first mansion world on the third day after natural death. On such occasions, the return of the adjuster signalizes the awakening of the human soul. And this is the repersonalization of the dead, just as literally as the en masse roll call. The en masse roll is called at the end of a dispensation on evolutionary worlds. There are 3 groups of individual ascenders. The less advanced land on the initial or first mansion world. The more advanced group may take up the Urantia career on any of the intermediate mansion worlds in accordance with the previous planetary progression. And the most advanced of these orders really begin their Urantia experience on the 7th mansion world. Damn, that's trippy. So like we were talking about earlier, based on your spiritual levels, if you got 99 everything in your stats before you die, based on how much you understand the 7 psychic circles, or if you raise or understand your 7 chakras, that will dictate what dimensional level or what mansion world you wake up on. And there's 7 different mansion worlds, 7th being the highest. So if you're super advanced, you led others to the truth and you actually made an effect on your planet, you are in the history books like, yep, he fucking did that for his planet. You'll probably wake up on the 7th mansion world. If all you're doing is looking at memes, watching porn, and fucking playing Minecraft. I'm not hating on Minecraft. I like Minecraft. But if that's all you do with your entire life, you're probably going to wake up on world number 1. And elsewhere in the Urantia book, they call that a detention and rehabilitation sphere. So, my nigga, you about to go to rehab. You're on a cosmic rehab, dog.
They call it that? Detention and rehabilitation?
Yeah.
Yeah, but some of that they're talking about like for the rebel midwares. So that's not Mansion World 1.
Yeah, they use that word.
Separate. They use that word for
the word
Mansion World 1.
detention and rehabilitation. Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's crazy. Yeah, sorry guys. Mansion World 1. Yep. Well, I mean, it makes sense because look. Here's the rub. No one gets damned to eternal hellfire, but Mansion World 1 does mean you still got to work. There's quite a bit of work involved. You don't have to strive for like physical survival anymore. You don't got to go out and get food and make sure the weather doesn't, kill you because there's a lightning storm, because you still have a Urantia body. But you're like, you just put in this environment like, look, there's a lot of things you need to learn. And, you still have some animosity towards people that don't look like you. Yeah, you got now go interact with these groups of people. There's a whole bunch of aliens here. You're going to have to figure out your differences. So yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense that Mansion World 1 is sort of like the rehabilitation from maybe the crazy. I mean, look, some mortal worlds in different stages of barbarism, it's a bit gnarly, you got to wake up slowly, I guess.
Oh yeah. You need to slow drip you back into the cosmos. Yeah. Let's see. Am I still reading? Yeah. I'll find I found 2 of the 3 quotes I'm looking for, but yeah, just referring to it. Pause to consider that the first world of the Urantia is a detention planet on the Paradise journey. And then it just says the rehabilitation for all the, yeah. I'm not going to pull all the quotes right now, but
okay, yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yeah, they're not merely detention planets, but they're actual training spheres. So almost the entire experience of Mansion World number 1 pertains to deficiency ministry.
Oh, okay, you're right. It is rehab.
Yeah.
You walk in, they're like, look, here's why you're here.
You fucked up. Here's the Urantia book. Read it. Call us back in a couple days, and we'll start from there. Didn't we read one book? That's what they said. What happens? What was it? The Millennium Update, or was it the fucking Caligaster website? I think he alluded to like, yeah, you get a Urantia book when you die if you wake up on that first mansion world.
Urantia book hilarious. Is just a tiny piece from the Book of Life, I think, is the way that he said it. Which it makes sense. This is basically a ChatGPT summary of the cosmic organization. They ran it. They didn't run it through AI to make this. But they did reference these different beings. They were like, look, if you had to explain it like I was 5, this is for Urantia mortals, okay? Please explain this like I'm 5, and we're gonna put this into a book, and it's gonna be 2,000 pages, and they're still gonna complain it's too long, but it's the best we can do.
Yeah, right. They had to condense it down to 2,000 pages. Fuck. I wonder what the director's cut looks like.
That's nutty. Director's cut. Oh, that's what we should call we should call our copy the
Oh,
director's
our
cut.
copy. Yeah.
Urantia
Urantia
Book
Book
Legacy
Director's Cut.
FHP edition, the director's cut.
Director's Cut. Hell yeah.
Oh, D-Bake froze. Sorry, I let that dead space happen. Um, yeah, so Mansion World 1, detention, but also for training. So, I guess, let's see, here we are. Throughout the earlier stages of Evolutionary World, few mortals go to judgment on the third day. As the ages pass, more and more personal guardians are assigned to advancing mortals, and thus increasing numbers of these evolving creatures are repersonalized on the first Mansion World on the third day after natural death. On such occasions, the return of the adjuster signalizes the awakening of the human soul, and this is the repersonalization of the dead, just as literally as when the en masse roll call is called at the end of a dispensation on the evolutionary worlds. There are three groups of individual ascenders. The less advanced land on the initial or first Mansion world. The more advanced group may take up the Urantia career on any of the intermediate Mansion worlds in accordance with previous planetary progression. The most advanced of these orders really begin their Urantia experience on the seventh Mansion world. Mortals of the probationary dependent orders of ascension. The arrival of an adjuster constitutes identity in the eyes of the universe, and all indwelt beings are on the roll calls of justice. But temporal life on the evolutionary worlds is uncertain, and many die in youth before choosing the paradise career. Such adjuster-dwelt children and youths follow the parent of the most advanced spiritual status, thus going to the system finality world, the probationary nursery, on the third day at a special resurrection, or at the regular millennial and dispensational roll calls. Children who die when too young to have thought adjusters are repersonalized on the finality world of the local systems, concomitant with the arrival of either parent on the mansion
Ball.
worlds. A child acquires physical entity at mortal birth, but in the matter of survival, all adjusterless children are reckoned as still attached to their parents. In due course, thought adjusters come to indwell these little ones, while the seraphic ministry to both groups of the probationary dependent orders of survival is in general similar to that of the more advanced parent, or is equivalent to that of the parent in case only one survives. Those attaining the third circle, regardless of the status of their parents, are accorded personal guardians. Similar probationary nurseries are maintained on the finality spheres of the constellation and the universe headquarters for the adjusterless children of the primary and secondary modified orders of ascenders. So this is an important section. A lot of people talk about this in their religions. What happens to because here's what happens. Every religion has their definition of what we call salvation. How do you get into heaven? Who's allowed to get into heaven? And I wonder if this applies to other religions, but at least in Christianity growing up, what they told us was that, look, if, the kid, they didn't know about the salvation story. They didn't make a particular decision to believe in Jesus or not. But, an accident happens and they die. What happens? In the Christian church, they're totally fine with saying, oh yeah, because the kid still goes to heaven, basically, is what they say. Because they recognize that you can't just, the mercy, God as a merciful being could not just let a kid go to hell just because they died early. They kind of get a free pass. Now, what's interesting about that is that it sort of skirts the atonement doctrine belief of how you get into heaven. So, but it's a weird sort of acknowledgement that
contradictions.
On one hand, we recognize that God does not condemn people, but on another, does not condemn the innocent, but on another hand, it's just an interesting dichotomy to realize that they'll say that thing. But anyway, what we're here to do is not complain about how Christianity sees it. We're here to give you a better answer, which is found in a lot of what this book is saying. So yeah, hopefully that gives you some encouragement. If you've had a family member or a relative or even your own child who, happen to pass early on, they're there. They're waiting for you. They may even get resurrected with you, and you'll get to
Yeah.
continue that journey. So stay
Hmm.
strong and uh,
Persevere, baby.
persevere.
Straight up. Yeah, and dude, this relieves a lot of anxiety for a lot of people if they were only exposed to these words, this concept. Like, it was beautiful when I first read this. I'm like, oh my God, there's the answer. Duh. And a lot of people are like, why? There must not be a God if kids die early. Like, why would God want kids to die early? Just all these unresolved energies and holes in logic that we're trying to fill. And it says it perfectly. That if, like, I have a 4-year-old son, if I woke up one day and he was dead, I would kill me, dude. I would be in such a fucking, I don't know, it'd suck, dude. I'd be hating, I'd be hurting, it'd suck because that little man is the shit. But it does give me a little bit of relief to know that if that happened, I would see his beautiful face waking up right when I die too. So it's cool. Like it's such a beautiful way of doing it. The angels and God, dude, shout out to them. They know what the fuck they're doing. But it's just a beautiful thought. Yeah, if you had a kid that died early, when you die, you'll be linked up with them again. So I hope that can resolve some of unresolved energy within your souls. I guess I'll keep reading, right?
Yeah, go for it.
Almost done, almost done. Mortals of the secondary modified orders of ascension. These are the progressive human beings of the intermediate evolutionary worlds. As a rule, they are not immune to natural death, but they are exempt from passing through the 7 mansion worlds. The less perfected group reawaken on the headquarters of their local system, passing by only the mansion worlds. The intermediate group go to the constellation training worlds. They pass by the entire Urantia regime of the local system. Still farther on in the planetary ages of spiritual striving, many survivors awaken on the constellation headquarters and there begin the paradise ascent. That's crazy. Niggas waking up on the constellation headquarters? Fuck. I just lost my spot. Where the fuck?
Sorry, I was looking at
Yeah,
the
they wake up on the
comments.
constellation headquarters. That's crazy. But before any of these groups may go forward, they must journey back as instructors to the worlds they missed. Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I did not know that. Okay. Add that
The
to
worlds
my
they so if you
concept
wake up
frame.
on Mansion World
You
7,
have to go
you're
back and be an
gonna you
instructor.
got to go back to being an instructor to a couple of the other
Gang,
ones.
gang. That's what's up.
Dang, teaching is learning, learning is teaching.
Yeah. Amen. Gaining many experiences as teachers in those realms which they passed by as students. They all subsequently proceed to paradise by the ordained routes of mortal progression. Pretty dope. Number 5, mortals of the primary modified order of ascension. These mortals belong to the adjuster fused type of evolutionary life, but they are most often representative of the final phases of human development on an evolving world. These glorified beings are exempt from passing through the portals of death. They are submitted to sun seizure. Woo! They are translated from among the living and appear immediately in the presence of the sovereign sun on the headquarters of the local universe. These are the mortals who fuse with their adjusters during mortal life. And such adjuster fused personalities traverse space freely before being clothed with Mirancha forms. What the fuck?
What?
Holy shit, I did not even know
They
that.
traverse space freely
That's
before
what?
getting. How long do they traverse freely
Whoa,
before
yeah,
getting
like can you just
Mirantia
fly
forms?
around with your adjuster? Dude, that's dank. That's a whole concept that, what the fuck? I don't know how I didn't know that before.
These are the mortals, and such just if you traverse space freely before being clothed. Wow.
Wow. These fused souls go by direct adjuster transit to the resurrection halls of the higher Mirantia spheres, where they receive their initial Mirantia investiture, just as do all other mortals arriving from the evolutionary worlds. Dude, that's crazy. So are there like fusers of evolutionary planets that are just flying around the cosmos right now? Like, what if one of the orbs we see in our atmosphere is that?
Mm-hmm.
How would we classify that being? That's fucking trippy. Whoa. Okay. The primary modified order of mortal ascension may apply to individuals in any of the planetary series from the lowest to the highest stages of the adjuster fusion worlds, but it more frequently functions on the older of these spheres after they have received the benefits of numerous sojourns of the divine suns. 1. The establishment of the planetary era. With the establishment of the planetary era of light and life, many go to the universe Morantia worlds by the primary modified order of translation. Further along in the advanced stages of settled existence, when the majority of the mortals leaving a realm are embraced in this class, the planet is regarded as belonging to this series. Natural death becomes decreasingly frequent on these spheres, long settled in light and life. And this paper was presented by a Melchizedek of the Jerusalem School of Planetary Administration. Shout out to that Melchizedek.
That's Teach right there. What up, Teach?
That's right.
That's
you just
future,
got taught
your
by
professor.
a Melchizedek, dog. Yeah. If you're listening to this, that's what's up. You just got a Melchizedek teaching. Hey, that was sick. I love that paper, man. So good. Now, that last paragraph, you guys kind of got insight onto why we started the channel, why I did. I want to wake up in fucking Michael's presence. I want to get sun seized. When I die, I want my soul to get fucking ripped over to Michael, and I wake up and he looks in my eyes and is like, "You are my son, in who I am well pleased." I break down and start crying, fucking crack a beer and smoke a blunt, start fucking celebrating. I'm kidding. I'm just joking. But I do know that is my personal mission. I want to go so hard that the sun, the sovereign of the cosmos, seizes me and says, "Bring this motherfucker to my presence. I want to talk to him." That's gangster shit right there.
So here's Gary Tong says about when we were talking about the adjuster flying around, traversing space freely. Hot take, Gary's saying that it's adjuster transport, but you're unconscious. Now, here's where I would disagree, unless you have more supporting quotes, is that when we fuse with our adjusters, we are not unconscious. That fusion process is our personality mixing. That. Yeah, you are still conscious.
We no longer become unconscious.
You actually become that fusion process is you being a spirit being, a pure spirit being. That's what people graduate towards on the mansion worlds when they're going to fuse. So if you fuse on the mortal life, I'm quite sure that you're traversing space fully conscious with your adjuster. Your will is in unison. And then it sounds like, maybe you get to choose when you get the Morantia form. I don't know, but that was the picture that I got. But I'm sure we'll be able to eventually figure out our speculations.
Yeah.
But I can't
find
in good jest.
Find this picture. Where's fuck, dude? It's not online. You know that there's a picture in the Keys of Enoch with a dude flying through space. You know what I'm talking about? I have right here. Man. Brand new. Oh, check it out. Look at the icy. I can probably flip through and find it real quick for the viewers. The pictures in this are beautiful, dude.
So here's a follow-up comment from Gary. We have no Morantia form, so the traversal is instant. If we have a Morantia form, we are asleep in transport, but that is seraphic. Right. But I guess the adjuster transport is not, it doesn't say anything about how adjuster transport is like seraphic transport. In seraphic transport, you're unconscious, even when you're in Morantia form. So I see where you're getting the concept, but
JJ and Desiree, you need to put these pictures out online so people can see them better.
Cosmic Man, yeah, it's not focusing.
There it is.
There it is. Yeah, that's what I pictured. In the star in the Merkaba,
traversing space.
Yeah,
but we don't have bodies. But it's just an illustration.
Woo! Yeah, I mean,
I got it done, baby.
I even wonder a lot about the relationship between out-of-body experience and the thought adjuster. Like how does the thought adjuster play a role in that? Especially because the thought adjuster is called like pure energy, which might be able to explain part of how we can go out of body. We're maybe starting to tap into that. I don't want to say it's like it is a function of your adjuster, but another, I guess, element to that is in the Urantia book when it says Paul talks about, there's this verse in the Bible where Paul's like, you know, I didn't know if I was in the body or out of the body, but I visited the third heaven. I think he actually says it in third person. He's like, I knew a man who visited the third heaven, but low key, he's talking about himself. And Urantia says that that was actually his adjuster detaching and going to one of the mansion worlds, and he was conscious of it. So that's another piece, I guess, in my sort of evidence pool that if you're with the adjuster in that state, like you can be conscious of it. You're not automatically unconscious. So that's another interesting tidbit that obviously relates to out of body experience as well, because in that sense, Paul was out of his body with his adjuster on the mansion world, and he got a glimpse of that.
Conscious.
So that's like pretty profound to me, and that's partly why I think, you know, the out of body experience, it obviously, you know, relates in some manner. I think, you know, when you're out of the body, the thought adjuster is probably right there with you, you know, just like normal, because the adjuster is it's in your mind, which mind is not entirely, you know, local in terms of consciousness, etc. But yeah, that's just my kind of 2 cents and links and initial thoughts on that. And yeah, reflectivity, that's true as well.
Thought-provoking.
Getting data.
Very thought-provoking. Fucking Gary, you need to get on this, so we'll reach out to you.
We'll talk about it when you get on.
We'll
so you
set
can
something up, yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I am feeling satiated from this morning. I feel happy, I feel amped up. My thought adjuster is pumping. I know I'm part of the Galactic Federation, evolutionary will creature, a mortal representing the time-space government on planet Earth. Just like many of you guys listening to this, I hope that we shed some light on these concepts. I hope we were able to unravel some of the tangles, de-weed the freaking garden of the mind. And, well, there are no weeds. There's only plants, right? But no, you know what I'm fucking around saying. I hope you guys liked it. We had fun doing it. Sorry for the crude jokes. We say a lot of stupid shit. But like the Urantia book says, humor and religion must be side by side, or else you're not balanced. So that's why we are lighthearted, but we also snap into the seriousness. I think I've done enough talking. Debake the wise. My brother Tay Chilla, Planetary HQ. Go get yourself a shirt. Go buy yourself a Urantia book. Shout out to all my brothers and sisters out there. We got some sick episodes coming soon, so stay tuned. We got some interviews with some high-profile people. I'm stoked. You got anything for him?
Yeah, thinking in that terms of words of power. What is the scenario abstract in total from this paper, The Inhabited Worlds? Well, for one, everything you're being told about the existence of non-human intelligence and crashed UAP retrieval, you know, there's a lot of thoughts that can stoke up, and mostly people want answers. So here's some answers for you. This is why some of these beings are crashing, leaving technology here, because they're like us. They're explorers. They are universe citizens, all on the same paradise journey. We start off on these mortal planets. We grow up. We get, 100 years on this planet or so. We die. We go into sleeping survivors. We get resurrected. And you continue that journey. It's all part of an organized system. It's directed panspermia is how life is implanted on these planets. It's directed and overseen by both men and angels and superhuman beings who make volunteer missions, divine sons incarnating to be the universe sort of presence here in the flesh to teach the people and work with them. Adam and Eve were one of these missions. All these things happening. It doesn't have to be, scary. You don't have to live forever in the mystery of what really happened. I'm not saying that I can prove to you that this is true, but it at least is the best story I've found so far. It's giving you a full universe picture that has a lot of meaning behind it so that you can synthesize your life, wake up every day and know why you're going so hard in the paint. So take that with you, take that perspective. This seems out there, the existence of life in other planets, but it's really here. It's about how we live our life here. It's about why we live our life here. That's what I got.
Amen. That's right. Go hard in the paint, baby. Go hard in the paint. We talk about consciousness. Everybody talks about consciousness. What is to become conscious of something? It just means, oh, I'm conscious of it. If there was a highway behind me, I didn't know it was there, but boom, all of a sudden there's a highway behind me. Now I'm conscious of this entire network of roads behind me. It's not some like crazy set of moves you have to do to unlock dimensions and shit. You just have to become conscious of it. Holy shit, it's that easy. And guess what? Your cosmic career started here and today, right now. When you heard us talking, you are now conscious of your cosmic career. Act accordingly. No more dilly-dallying. No more lollygagging. It's time to fucking step it up. You just now became conscious of your cosmic career. Oh, wow. It was there, but I wasn't conscious of it before. Now you are. So you can directly affect where you wake up after you die based on what you do down here. You're conscious of it now. Stop fucking around. Planetary HQ, baby. We love you guys.